sight of me history. Tell me about the youths and them not listen. Oh Jaja, guide the youths them today. Oh me say, come in and they dance, yeah, we nice up the place. Come in and they dance, yeah, you feel it in space. Drum and the bass, I go move your waist. Drum and the bass, I go move your waist. Now feel this your rhythm, feel this your flow. Oh, what a feeling so natural. Now feel this your rhythm, feel this your flow. Oh, what a feeling so natural. Now feel this rhythm, them now feel this your flow. Now feel this your rhythm, now feel this your flow. Who feels it knows it, yeah. Who feels it knows it.
Gosinja uli die sombren zelten meg et zu ite saluda antes hum niga Radzaudzan malak estrezas durante todo em memu a nogi distância como cupo palu zaniman malak guafi con una sughiairi preba tu la noci nai banderata gaigi pues atan fanni bandera kau esta pagua pumalapa Gilo tanu man libri Tentamiti man ko badi
Nota kantai matunonya gitoru iluga Paraiona Parai gloria Abiba isla sen para Paraiona Parai gloria Abiba isla sen para Toru i tempo i paz Paraita Zangin in na bendition Contra biligo na vansa fuam Jus proteis langom Contra biligo na vansa fuam Jus proteis langom funny and they break your heart. Lonesome Sue, she's in love with old Sam, kicking from the fire into the frying pan. On and on, I just keep on trying. And his smile, she feels like crying. On and on, on and on, on and
Say now
on.
come on everybody, if you really wanna show, get yourself a partner and get up on the floor now. Come on everybody, if you really wanna show, get yourself a partner and get up on the floor now. Come on, run, run, everybody, run, run. Come on, run, run, everybody, run, run. Come on, run, run, everybody, run, run. Come on, run, run, everybody, run, run.
Oh, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Lonesome Jimmy sits alone in the moonlight. Saw his woman kiss another man, and he takes the ladder, takes the stars from the sky, put on Sinatra and starts to cry. On and on, I just keep on trying. And he smile, and she feels like crying. On and on, on and on, on and on. Well, it's my first time and a last time, and it makes me feel so good. And you know it, show it. Oh baby, hold on tight, don't let her say goodbye.
I said, let the teardrops fall. Everybody has a future, say now. Let the teardrops fall. Everybody has a future, say now. Let the teardrops fall. Everybody has a future, say now. Let the teardrops fall.
Well, it's my first time and the last time. Oh, it makes me feel so good. Oh, baby, you know it. Show it. Oh, baby, hold on tight. Don't let her say
Say no,
goodbye.
let your teardrops fall. Everybody has a future, say no. Let your teardrops fall. Everybody has a future, say no. Let your teardrops fall. Everybody has a future, say no. Let your teardrops fall.
I've got the sun on my shoulders and my toes in the sand, and my woman left me for another man. Oh, but I don't worry, I just sit and relax, toss up my heart, see where it lands. On and on, I just keep on trying. And his smile, it feels like crying. On and on.
The Link. Join the conversation now with Chris.
Good morning, Wab. Right on. Morning, Jay.
Good one today, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. Good morning,
It
my
even
friend.
sounds like you may have worked on that a little
I did some circuits yesterday with a kettlebell thing.
bit. The kettlebells on your lungs? Or?
Yeah. Hi, Sabrina. Bree looks sad. She must not
morning.
be in the hotel anymore. Where you at? Are you still in the hotel?
No.
All right. Hey, it's Thursday, guys. June 17th, 2021. Welcome to the Link, 6:20 in the morning. My name's Chris.
I'm Jason.
I'm Sabrina.
Thank you.
And he's Joe, sir.
Yes.
You all are out there. We've already got a bunch of people sending us their Hafaday greetings, which, you know what? We live for this stuff, you guys. Thank you for always saying hello to us. Thank you for checking in all over the world. I'm seeing Surprise, Arizona.
Oh, surprise.
Frank the Tank from Palmer, Alaska, who I don't
Wow.
believe we have ever had.
Wow, Frank the Tank.
Frank the Tank. Frank the Tank. Frank the Tank.
Where's Palmer, Alaska, Jay?
I don't know. I'm not sure where it is in relation to Anchorage or.
Alaska's cool because it's so bad they pay you to live there, is what I heard. I mean, I don't know if that's a good description of it, but don't you get paid to live in Alaska? You heard about that, Bree?
Wait, Bree?
No.
Wait, which one of you has been to Alaska?
None of us. Have you?
No, I thought Bree's been to Alaska, right?
I think when I was young, that I can't remember. I think my dad may have been
And there's
stationed there.
wait, what's the other one, sir? There's also one.
Yes, that Betty Ann texted in. Yes, it is correct. You get paid to live in Alaska.
No, what was
We
it?
should get paid to live here. Guam is such an awesome place. We should just get paid to live here.
Oh, no, there was one. Okay.
That's my next idea.
Oh, and also Joseph Castro. Good morning, Joe. Hafaday to you, bro. Buenas and Hafaday from Copperas Cove, Texas.
Oh, nice. Where's
we have
that?
got almost.
Where's that, Jay?
Texas is a massive, massive state. I mean, if you guys didn't know this, Texas is basically only one time zone over from New York. That's how big the state is. That's how much area it covers. And we've got most of Texas covered by this point, which is awesome. I know there's a lot of Guamanians in Texas all over the place. Also, I love this. Alicia Shanko, hello, beautiful Guam. And then puts 6 beautiful emoji. The rainbow emoji, the palm tree, a plumeria flower, 2 clap hands.
Ooh.
So that's proper applause. And then the thumbs up. Can't get much better than that.
We got here Elizabeth Agagi, who usually checks in from Eva Beach, Hawaii, said, I used to live in North Pole, Alaska.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, that's right. There is a North Pole, Alaska. Can you imagine that?
Yeah. that's pretty
Everybody
cool.
just wants to like send you snail mail. It's like, can I please get like a return? I just want to say I got something from the North Pole.
Right. Linda Buena chimes in, good morning. Maria Paredo says, good morning, everyone. I really love this song. Yeah, that's a classic. It's Condition 4.
Yep.
Doing the old Stephen Bishop tune, On and On. And for some reason, Jay, that is just one of the songs that a lot of bands on Guam cover. You know what I mean? There's certain songs from the States or whatever that we own on Guam, and that's one of them.
And you know, like when we used to go to clubs, those of us who were like, you know, in our 20s in the 1990s, right? All 4 of us basically. Everyone would always get on the dance floor and just dance, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone dance the same way twice to that song. And I'm not criticizing it. It's an awesome song. I mean, I love Condition 4. I know those guys. But some people would do the cha-cha. Some people would almost do like the ballroom dance. Some people would do like, you know, the Charleston.
The Charleston?
It's
The Charleston?
seriously, I've seen people
Really?
I've seen people do like the old school cha-cha, the diamond one. I've seen people do like, you know, just like the slow dance, you know, the romantic one.
Oh, the romantic slow dance?
Yeah.
Where you're touching bodies?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Okay, speaking of music,
Yeah.
before we get into the real
No,
serious stuff.
you got all day, bro. Go for it.
Spotify told me yesterday Def Leppard's got a new album out.
Oh, wow.
Those guys are like 900 years old.
They are. The one thing I know about Def Leppard is they have the one-armed drummer.
Yeah, Rick Allen. That's right.
Yep.
But Def Leppard might be actually deaf at this point. Thang
Yeah.
Leopard.
From playing all that loud rock and roll all these years.
Okay, and also I can't say this enough, but I did put in my order yesterday. I've been telling people, you know, we're the church is appreciating this, but down at Cathedral, right? You guys can order because Father's Day is on Sunday. I didn't even know how inexpensive they were. Remembrance candles for your favorite father are only $5. So I called and I made my order over the phone. You can do them either in remembrance of someone that's passed on or someone that's still here. So I got a candle for my dad who left us 3 years ago, for my Nino who left us a while ago, both of my grandfathers, and then I also ordered candles to honor fathers who are still with us. So I got one for
Nice.
Bree's dad, and for Chris and Joser.
Oh, thank you, Jay. You're the man, dude.
And
Appreciate
add, you
that.
know, you add your prayer intentions and everything
Right.
like that because you guys are really, really good fathers, and I appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Jay.
I am not, but if I ever do become a father, there's a lot I'm gonna take from watching the two of you.
Wow. What do I got to get for you?
I don't know. You're probably gonna hook up like some GCC promo for singing. You, hey, lunch is on me today,
Hey
guys.
guys, I got you.
No, but I wanted to do that for you guys because you guys really, really are good fathers, and I see how much you guys put into that, and you know.
Thank you, Jay.
And how much your kids.
You know what? Happy almost Father's Day to you. Annie Bonds here. Good morning and off day. Guam from Killeen, Texas. Eva Beach, Hawaii with Elizabeth Agagi. Juan Cruz writes in Hafaloha. Of course, Kentucky in the house with Mama Bear, Debbie Davis.
Okay, when was the first time you guys actually heard Hafaloha?
When Hafaloha opened.
Well, no, our friend Leonard Ka'ai and his lovely wife opened that. You know, they opened their store and they've got amazing acai bowls. They've got like their brand of clothing. But I heard people were saying Hafaloha for
We should do that with all the greetings. Like, you know, there's Rananim. We should do like Hafanim.
Actually, no. You know what? The first person I ever heard use that, like Rananim, right? The first person I ever heard that was Dr. Benji Santiago, who, by the way, is
Mabu Hafaday.
this year's GDOE Teacher of the Year.
Mabu Haf. Huh?
No, because Dr. Benji Santiago is
No,
this
that
year's...
sounds too much like Abu Sayyaf.
Oh, no.
Go ahead, Jay.
No, but this year, Dr. Benji Santiago is, of course, the GDOE Teacher of the Year this year. He was the first one, now that I think about it, who I ever heard use Hafaloha when he was running the cultural dance show over at PIC. So they would greet all of the audience and everything. They'd be like, Hafaloha, welcome to the PIC. And I was like, hey, that's pretty clever. And that was around like 2000 or so.
Who's coming on the show today, Jay?
Let's see. Where's the paper?
It's right there.
Okay. On the show today, on the scheduled to appear.
Oh, schedule.
Not joining us in privacy, but on the schedule today, two senators, one from the Democrat Party, one from the GOP, Sabina Perez and Tello Taitigui, respectively. They're going to talk to us about a variety of issues like labor, Department of Revenue and Taxation. We had Daphne on yesterday, and she was talking about the fact that there probably is going to be a online form application for the All Rise Act.
Yeah,
very,
okay,
very
Jay.
soon.
So yesterday after Daphne's interview, all people heard was Rise Act. They didn't hear they're not paying it or, you know, we have to wait another month. All they heard was Rise Act. So after the show yesterday, Bree, oh, God, my phone was just blowing up. Like, hey, where do we get the application for the Rise Act?
Yeah.
Hey, can you send me a copy of the application for the Rise Act? So there you go.
I made sure, like, when I was copy editing, like, the story for our website, it said, Rise Act online application coming soon.
Soon, pending.
Yes, please check that out. Okay, also on the show,
No.
7:30, Dr. Hoa Nguyen is going to join us. He, of course, is the Physicians Advisory Group chairman. This is probably going to be one of his last appearances on this show. at
He's
least
going
for a
on
couple
vacation.
weeks. Yeah, he's taking his daughter to
A
the
lot of
States.
people are going on vacation.
He's taking his daughter out to college, so congratulations. to
Dr. Juan Flores, have a great vacation. He's also flying out, going on vacation this morning.
Hey, safe travels, Doc.
Yes.
And then 9:15, Gary Hiles, who is an economist with the Department of Labor.
Well, he's not just an economist. He is the chief economist.
And you know, he's been there a really long time, and
Yeah.
Gary knows a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff.
He knows
he's
a
good
lot
guy.
of things.
Yeah,
And so we're going to be talking about, Bree, there was this federal jobs report that came out, right?
Yeah, we reported on it yesterday
Right.
that the U.S. Department of Labor's Bureau of Labor Statistics did an employment and wage study on Guam, and the statistics are from 2019. So it showed that I believe it's 30, maybe 30, more than 30%.
below the
Our
national
average,
average.
yeah. Thanks, Jace.
And then there was something yesterday where the governor and lieutenant governor come out and they were supporting an increased minimum wage for what, federal contractors or something? Yeah. I saw that. I thought that was kind of funny. On the other hand, we're delaying the minimum wage increase for our local workers and not paying them the Rise Act.
But you know what? You were just talking about how your phone was blowing up like
Yeah.
last night. I'm pretty sure that to some degree the phones of Juan Muña and Peter Paul Cepeda were blowing up, probably because of congratulations, because they are the first batch of Guamanians who are the winners of the Vax to Win promotion. So congratulations to those guys.
Right on.
$10,000 and a new Mitsubishi. Really, really good.
Also, I think we're getting former Gov. Carl Gutierrez, GVB president, on. He's just going in the office. He's going to see when he can jam on. And then Teresa Philippin of the FSM console, as they are seeing off another repatriation flight this morning.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool.
Wait, was the Gov down at Governor Gutierrez, I should say. Was he down at the prize announcement thing yesterday? I didn't see him.
I don't know.
think he was there, right?
I don't know.
Oh.
But congratulations. It was a very interesting chain of events that developed yesterday as we were anticipating announcement of winners at 7:21 in the morning. I know you guys were here, and then we were told they had selected the winners, but they had to verify them. And then they were announced later on at, was it like 3?
Yeah.
Right. And so there was Peter Paul Spada won $10,000, and Juan Munia won a vehicle, courtesy auto spot. And we'll do it again next week. Yeah, I know a lot of people were scratching their head that Amunia won a vehicle from an auto spot, but it is what it is, guys. I'm pretty sure, what are we going to do? I mean, they're eligible, okay? When they win, they win. That's it.
But, I was actually delightfully...
I'm sorry. It was just funny in the comments.
Okay, tell people...
And people are going to say whatever they're going to say, but they were just like, oh, they didn't announce the winner, and then, oh, it's Amunia, and it's a... But you know what, guys? The Munias, the Leon Guerreros, as long as you're not a cabinet member, you can enter to win this stuff. And that's what it is. Fair is fair. Do you guys want to see more of the process and how they select these winners like they do in every other raffle that we do on Guam? Sure. But, guys, it's learning growing pains. They never did a raffle before. So next Wednesday, maybe they'll have it all in line, and it'll be all, in a way where you guys feel confident in the... transparency of it, I guess, right? Because, normally in a raffle, you see the process, right? You see either the guy pulling the name or maybe it's just that they couldn't figure out this random program. Like, what kind of program is that, Jay?
I mean, we've done, like raffles and stuff like that here at KU.
But this is not, to be clear and to be fair, this is not a paper-centric raffle where it's not an entry form.
You're not using like the tumbler with the lotto balls or anything like that.
Right.
Well, I mean, okay, and complete disclosure, when we've done that, like with things like in the past, we build like a database, and then you can even do something as simple as go into Excel and just use like the random function, which picks like one of the numbers, and it's completely unbiased in that regard. So it's possible.
I mean, but they should do like a thing, or they, if they can, I don't know, again, what program, but do like a screen share and show people that it's randomly being selected. That'd be cool.
But you know what? I actually kind of went through some of the comments, and I was
his comments are brutal, man. There's some brutal comments.
It's interesting because I went through our Instagram.
People were like, "Oh God, party system," or "Oh yeah, should have known."
I saw a few of those, but for the most part, I was actually delighted because I was on the verge of cringing, and I was like,
"I love our people, dude. They're just
a lot of them were."
One thing I can say about us Chamorros is we are not graceful losers at all. If we lose, what's the first thing we say? Fix every time. Never fails. And a lot of times it is a fix, but not in this time. I'm just saying that's our nature, as we always, right? Who doesn't say, fix? Or you lose in sports. What is it? Politics. You know what I mean? We're just not graceful losers. We don't know how to take an L. It's okay. A lot of people don't.
Or you know what they say in the military, right?
Yeah.
What is second place?
But you know what I got to say? The reason why we can't take an L is because we have a history of corruption, favoritism, and it is what it isness. So that's why. It's not like we're totally out there, right? Like, oh God, what are you complaining about? There's never any corruption. Yeah, all the time. Come on. It's a party system. We got a whole saying for it.
You know what? With that being the case, I really hope with all of my heart that you win one of the...
Oh God, I don't want to now.
Yeah, and then I would love to see how many DMs you're going to have to respond to, because even though, hey, how'd you do that? Oh, I know, because you're Chris Barnett. You got that done. Hey,
oh, God. Yeah.
Barmy fan Chris, 5,000?
So, yeah, just enter, Jay. Where do they enter to win? You guys got to enter, okay?
Visit guam.com/VAX. Bree, did you enter yet? You were on the verge yesterday. You were thinking about trying to get your entry in at the last moment, right?
It wouldn't matter. Remember, they picked it.
The cutoff, yeah.
They just had to verify it. Yeah.
Right.
I'll get to it when I get to it. I mean, I'm vaccinated. That's all that matters.
That's right. Bree doesn't need any bells or whistles or trinkets or baubles. She just did it for her island.
Joser's got like his fingers crossed, his toes crossed, his nostrils crossed.
Yep.
He's crossing his arms.
He wore his polka dots yesterday. Maybe that's what you guys got to do. You got to start wearing your. Some people wear yellow because it's a lucky color. Some people wear the polka dots. Some people, like my mom, pray the rosary. Yeah, just do what you got to do. But what you really got to do is you got to enter the thing, because if you're gonna sit there and hate on who's winning or be mad or whatever, you got to enter. Because guess what? Like my grandma used to say, God rest her soul, if you're shy, you do not try. Okay?
That's words to live by right
Amen.
there, bro.
Hey, at 6:36, the show brought to you proudly by Pacific Points. Well, we got news coming up. Wow, I'm sorry. There's a new Kaha director. I couldn't wait. I think Bree's going to have that later on. Also this morning, we're going to be talking about this port. We didn't get to touch on it yesterday. It was so packed on the show. Well, there's this post audit on the Port Authority. Remember way back when Senator Talina Nelson had that oversight hearing of the port, and the port like walked all over her, and that was crazy. I never seen that. They commandeered that oversight hearing, and there was supposed to be a continuation, but I don't know. Somebody check on Senator Talina Nelson if she's okay. She put out a release. We haven't heard anything about a continuation of this oversight hearing. Haven't really heard anything from the senator. I got to tell you guys, I have tried hard to get her on this show. Very hard. I've reached out her. I know that she had a communications guy, CTU, but he's no longer with her, I'm hearing. So yeah, I reached out, pretty hard. Haven't got her. It'd be good to get her though. But she came out with a release about this post audit, and so did Senator Joanne Brown. We'll read and talk about them later, but these releases kind of like night and day. Of course, Senator Joanne Brown is like, this shows that they're just hiring anybody at the port, and Senator Talina Nelson is like, I love the port. You employees keep working hard. Mwah. So we'll talk about that coming up here. You don't even need to read the release. I read it for you. You're welcome. 6:30.
Thank you, Mr. Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, that's it. I just dumbed it down for you guys.
You know what? You should write a book.
No, I'm not even kidding. Look, Senator Talina writes here.
Guam Press Releases for Dummies by Chris Barnett.
She writes, I respect the decision of the Civil Service Commission, and I thank them for their due diligence on this matter. Our port employees have worked tirelessly throughout the years, and during the pandemic, I'm confident that they will continue their commitment and service by upholding the highest standard for the people of Guam. Yeah, the port employees are upholding the highest standard. The problem is the administrators aren't, because they're hiring all kinds of people with these shady pasts, which everyone deserves a second chance. That's what everyone's saying. But I'm saying there's a lot of people out there who didn't even get a first one. That's all. I'm not saying that's it.
And this story
That
comes
was
out.
it? Was that it?
No, there's more. Trust
Was
me,
that the
there's
press
more.
release? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then Senator Joanne Brown, of course, her release was the ruling is to be expected, considering the threshold of hiring port employees has been lowered and can be likened to the gates at the Port Authority of Guam being left unmanned and unlocked. Yeah, so we'll talk about that coming up in a little bit. It's going to be fun. 6:38 now. Let's go ahead and get into the news with the very latest from the KUAM News team, reporting live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Sabrina Salas Matanani.
Alpha Day, everybody. Beginning June 19th, vaccinated arriving passengers and those with negative PCR test results taken within 72 hours prior to arrival will now be exempt from quarantine. The governor issued a new executive order authorizing the new protocol, which also paves the way for GVB's Air V&V program to attract American expats to Guam for vaccinations. It also identified AstraZeneca as an approved vaccine, which promotes travel here by vaccinated Korean citizens who no longer have to undergo quarantine when returning home. The order also authorized the reopening of the island's senior centers effective July 1st. Also on the 1st of July, the moratorium on foreclosure and eviction proceedings will be lifted. The Joint Information Center, in the meantime, reported 10 new positive cases of COVID out of 466 samples that were taken on Tuesday. 4 cases were identified through contact tracing. 1 case reported recent travel and was identified in quarantine. 2 cases are reported hospitalized, and both are at GMH. To date, there have been a total of 8,261 officially reported cases of COVID-19 since March of last year. Of course, there have been 139 deaths, 56 cases are active, and there have been 8,066 recoveries. Guam's CAR score is still 0.4. As of Wednesday, 88,465 island residents have been fully immunized. And with more news, here's Tyler Mantanani.
Half a day, everyone. Half a day, everyone. I'm Tyler Mantanani with your headlines here on The Link. A man shot in the sleepy village of Malesu was taken to the hospital for treatment. KUAM's Isaiah Uggan has more.
South Doyle Street in Malesu is described as a quiet neighborhood. We arrived to the scene where yellow caution tape cordoned off the area. The Guam Police Department reported that a male with a gunshot wound to his leg area was transported to the hospital for treatment and care. Officers from the Southern Precinct Command responded to the shooting incident in the Southern Village just before noon. KUAM spoke with a village resident who wishes to remain anonymous, stating that she heard a loud bang around 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. She said that when she exited her residence that a male and female in a red truck and a van was in the middle of the road having an argument. The resident also shared that the individuals were yelling at each other saying, "Did you see that?" and yelled, "Get down." She couldn't tell what kind of bang it was because she was in her room, however it sounded like two cars colliding. The shooting occurred at the Gura housing in Malesu. Agency officials arrived to the scene informing KUAM that all their staff are safe. KUAM reached out to Mayor Ernest Chargloff, who said he was out of the village when he received a call about the shooting. He said it's a shock because his village is quiet. The investigation is still ongoing. More updates to come. Reporting for Guam's News Network, Wahusi Isaiah Uggan.
In the familiar words of the game show announcers, you're the lucky winner of a brand new car. The governor's office held the first of 6 weekly prize drawings in the Vax and Win program on Wednesday. Here's what it looked like.
Juan Muña and Peter Paul Cepeda are the winners of this week's grand prizes, a new car and $10,000 in cash, respectively.
Because I didn't know whether it was the car, this, or the money or anything, but I found out this morning, so we really didn't know until we got up there. When we got up there, the governor walked in and she told us, and we were super ecstatic. I really feel that everybody on the island should get vaccinated to help all our people on the island and, open up, hopefully the island open up even more.
This morning when they called me, they asked me if I have time at 3 o'clock. I told them I don't have time. Then they turned the words around and you want something. So I said, oh, I'll change my mind. I'll go down at 3.
A good thing it came down, huh?
Yes.
All right, congratulations. The promotion is designed to entice people to get vaccinated as part of the governor's goal to reach herd immunity, or 96,000 vaccinations, by the July 21st Liberation Day celebration.
We still have a long ways to go to reach our 80%, and we encourage everybody to please, as the director said, please get out there and get vaccinated. We're hoping that this incentive would motivate people to go out and be vaccinated.
At the time of the drawing, some 38,690 had signed up. Once again, drawings for a new car and $10,000 in cash will be held every Wednesday until July 21st.
Deployments and retirements continue to challenge the Guam Fire Department. Most recently, the lack of manpower has led to the shutdown of as many as 4 units across the island. Jonah Gintarfras has more.
We've had our good days and we've had our bad days. Guam Fire Department spokesperson Cherika Chargaloff referring to the shortage in personnel to man medic, rescue, and engine units. The shortage has taken its toll, forcing the shutdown of a handful of units.
Ideally, we have none. There are days where we have one. And of course, over drill weekend, we've experienced our shortest, which was 4 units down.
But despite the shutdown of some medics on any given day and possible wait times, Chargaloff wants to reassure residents that their E911 center is trained to provide callers with pre-arrival instructions.
We do have first responder units, fire trucks, rescue units that are able to respond to the scene and assist with the patient until an ambulance transport unit becomes available to take that patient to the hospital.
It was just 2 weeks ago when Fire Chief Dan Stone appeared on The Link with Chris and Sabrina, detailing GFD's lack of manpower.
We are definitely starting to feel the challenges in that area. Our staffing, with people retiring, because people did retire during COVID. People have retired early on this year. We've had retirements in 2019. So we are definitely working with the administration to try and address that and get that staffing, for the hires and promotions. Promotions are very important to me right now because we do have a little bit of a gap in our first line supervision. And so we've been working very closely with the administration, and it looks like we're going to be making some progress in that area here soon.
Chargaloff says the bulk of the challenge is mainly attributed to retirements. For fiscal year 2021, there have been 10 retirements to date, with an anticipated 7 more by the end of the year.
We do have multiple personnel out for military deployment and or annual training. On top of that, we have our onesies, twosies on annual leave, and I believe 2 on paternity.
To offset lack of manpower,
our battalion chiefs have been working hand in hand, both the North, South, and our rescue commanders, to shuffle around their personnel and or realign units to ensure that there's the maximum amount of coverage throughout the island as possible.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Jonah Goncharfris.
We should note that an engine assigned to Barrigada is currently down for maintenance, but a responder unit has been detailed to the station for the time being. Chargaloff, however, says the unit does not have water capabilities. Health insurance coverage has been terminated for the foster care program due to lack of money. In a letter to Vice Speaker Tina Barnes, representatives of the foster parent community say the decision by Aetna to immediately drop its coverage will have a serious impact on the children. They note that while public health has transferred their coverage to Medicaid, they say Medicaid doesn't cover important services such as speech, vision, and occupational therapy. Vice Speaker Barnes has written to the governor seeking funding to continue the insurance coverage. Barnes and Senator Mary Torres sponsored a bill last year to cover the $1.4 million shortage for the foster program. Joint Region Marianas bid fair winds and following seas to Rear Admiral John Manoni on Wednesday. In a ceremony at Naval Base Guam, Admiral Manoni relinquished commander to the new commander of JRM, Rear Admiral Benjamin Nicholson. On hand were Commander of the 7th Fleet, Vice Admiral Bill Merz, who gave the keynote speech. Other speakers included Governor Lou Leon Guerrero and Congressman Michael San Nicolas, who thanked Manoni for his partnership in serving the local community. Manoni is headed to Virginia Beach, Virginia, where he will serve as commander of Expeditionary Strike Group 2. Admiral Nicholson most recently served as executive assistant to the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in Washington, D.C. That's it for now. We'll see you at 6 tonight on Primetime.
In response to the issue involving health insurance coverage for foster care children, Public Health Director Art St. Augustine says Guam's foster care children are among the most vulnerable in our society, and we remain cognizant of the need to continue to offer services to them and the families who care for them. Foster care children continue to receive health insurance coverage under the GovGuam Health Insurance Plan and have experienced no interruption in their coverage. After working with the Department of Public Health and Social Services for weeks to ensure a safe and productive grand opening, the Helping Hands Adult Daycare had to turn away its clients at the last minute. The daycare made an announcement on their Facebook page stating, due to the Department of Public Health and Social Services directives, our operations has been halted until further notice. We are awaiting further guidance and approval from Public Health to resume operations and will contact our participants as soon as we do. We apologize for the inconvenience and look forward to providing services to the community soon. Owner Meloni Tamandong confirmed that the operations were paused for now and wished to refrain from making any further comment. The first privately owned adult daycare on the island was scheduled to hold their grand opening on Tuesday. An active rodent and roach infestation prompted the closure of the Green Supermarket Retail and Green Supermarket Manufacturer on Tuesday. According to a public health inspection report, Green Supermarket Retail had a dozen health code infractions, including numerous rat feces found in the water dispensing unit in the retail store and in the water treatment system area. Public Health also discovered multiple dead roaches of different sizes and body parts, frass, and multiple general openings in the water treatment storage area. As for the manufacturer, 9 health code infractions were discovered. Some of them include ceiling tiles with discoloration, toilet room, door not closing, an active rodent and roach infestation as well. Both establishments received a C rating and will have to pay a $100 reinstatement fee to public health upon the successful completion of a follow-up inspection. A motion to dismiss without prejudice was filed by the government in Alan Kalanda's criminal case. As reported, Kalanda was arrested in connection with the death of 21-year-old Glenn Thomas Cruz Jr., who was ejected from the vehicle in a crash that took place on Marble Cave Road in Mingilao on October 1st. A supplemental investigation was conducted by the AG's office that revealed Kalanda and Cruz were co-workers on duty at the time of the crash, and that the vehicle was a poorly maintained company vehicle without working seatbelts or doors. According to the AG's office, because of these and other factors, prosecutors believe there was insufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that driver Kalanda was responsible for the death of Cruz. Cruz's family also informed the government that they do not believe Kalanda should be held criminally liable for their loved one's death. Judge Arthur Barcinas has taken the matter under advisement. A face-to-face meeting between President Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin has ended in Geneva, Switzerland. The two leaders sat down at a time when relations between the two countries are at a low point. Natalie Brand reports.
President Biden shook hands with President Vladimir Putin outside a villa in Geneva ahead of a high-stakes summit at a critical time for U.S.-Russia relations.
I think it's always better to make face-to-face.
Inside, the two leaders sat across from each other during a chaotic photo op.
Stop pushing! Don't push.
Among the topics on the table, nuclear arms control, Russian interference in U.S. elections, and cyber attacks. Russian-based hackers are blamed for two recent crippling cyber attacks targeting American businesses. Asked during his news conference about Russian involvement in the attacks, Putin said his country is facing similar threats.
I'd like to repeat that the talks were very constructive.
The summit was shorter than expected. The two sides estimated it would last between 4 to 5 hours, but it only lasted a little more than 3 hours. Ahead of the summit, President Biden had said he would make clear which Russian activities would be met with a strong response.
If that message is conveyed clearly, experts tell me, then you would see slowly, not too fast, but slowly, the Russians start to change some of their behavior in small ways.
Putin indicated during his news conference the meeting was productive and ambassadors from each country will be returning to their posts in the future. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Governor Lilian Guerrero appointed and the Caja board approved Sandra Flores as the new director of the agency. She is originally from the village of Inalahan. She graduated from Northwestern University with a degree in cultural anthropology and recently earned her master's degree in peace and justice from the Kroc School at the University of San Diego. She completed the program remotely from the territory. And a real quick heads up, GWA announces an emergency water outage today. Starting immediately until 3 o'clock this afternoon. Crews are working to repair a main line in the village. This is for the village of PD. For more information, you can contact GWA's hotline, the number 646-4211. And that's your news. Chris?
Thank you, Sabrina. Good job. 6:53. Let's keep it in the K-Wave News Zoom room where alongside Sabrina Salas-Mantanani, we have bipartisan senators joining us together from two political parties. Senator Sabina Perez, Democrat, of course, and Senator Tello Taitigui, Republican. Good morning, Senators.
Good morning, Chris, Sabrina, and Jason, and at the Koya family.
Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. Sabrina, Chris, and Jason, as well as those who are listening in the audience. Good morning to you. Create a great day.
Good morning.
So have you guys entered the Vaccine Win raffle yet, or what?
No, I think we're both fully vaccinated, so yeah.
I'll have Jason send you the link offline. It's 6:55.
I thought they were going to offer beer like they did in the States, right? I think when President Biden offered, you can have some beer.
Or how about Senator Tello serenade you?
Hey,
I'm sorry,
that's the gift that keeps on giving right there.
Right on. Senator Tello will serenade you if you win. 6:55.
It'll take me about 3 months to warm up.
Right. Let's just get right into it, Senators. We wanted to start with the RISE Act. And, of course, I don't know if you guys are running into people who are asking about it, but it really appears that the governor and also through her communications director, Crystal Paco San Augustine. They've really dug in their heels, no pun intended, on this, and are saying that they're not going to pay anything until after the public comment period ends. And I think Crystal had commented in on our Facebook Live feed because a listener was asking about the paying of the RISE Act. Let me get her comment up here. She said, what we observed with the CARES Act funds last year is that the guidance kept changing. It would be prudent to await final guidance, which I understand we expect next month. Just to bring you guys up to speed with some regional developments, we spoke with the CNMI Governor's Office spokesperson, Kevin Bautista, and he told us that they've already begun spending their ARP funds, and they've even given as much as $400,000 to a single nonprofit to resume essential cancer treatment services. So we have a tale of two islands here, Senators, and wanted to get your 2 cents on this RISE Act situation.
Do we go age first before beauty? Okay, so I'll just put in 2 cents, and we all know that this was introduced last term in the 35th by Senator Regina Scalise. And it kind of morphed into something more by going through this whole process of finding out who is eligible for it by adding in the government employees or federal employees, anybody under the sky, which was alarming because then the cost of that will be a lot higher. And it wasn't intended for those who are working, already working and receiving a paycheck, with those who weren't. And I guess, it's always been, how much is this going to cost from the very beginning? So for them to keep procrastinating, the only thing I can think of is that they haven't got their act together yet to decide what they're going to do, even with the ARP funding and how much they're going to put aside to use with the RISE Act. So this was funding that was supposed to use during the CARES Act money, not during this ARP funding. So it wasn't anticipated. So I just think that they haven't got their act together, or a plan that's been put that's solid enough to put forward that they're not overextending a certain amount of money that they had planned for it. I think it was $30 million to be set aside, and this may cost more than that. So what are you going to jeopardize? So I just, that's my 2 cents.
Before we go to Senator Sabina, I just wanted to say it kind of reminds me of, it's so late in the game, right? But with the RISE Act, just judging from when I go around, people really are cued into this, and they really know that they should have been paid it already. And what I'm scared we're going to see is like with this rental assistance, right? So they put aside 30-some million for this rental assistance, and it's no secret people were having the hardest time paying their rent. But they've only given out $1 million of this rental assistance. So I'm just worried that we're going to see the same thing with the RISE Act. But something that was kind of encouraging, Senator Sabina, is we did have Daphne Shimzu, Reverend Tax, on yesterday. Of course, you're the oversight of Reverend Tax. And she said that she's already working on the online application process so that in the event that the RISE Act or the All RISE Act or whatever we're calling it is green-lighted by the administration, she can just get up and go with it.
Yes, I think administration of the fund is going to be very crucial. It probably follows similar lines with the Zudo Imangafa, and that one was projected to use $10 million, and only, I believe, only $300,000 was used out of the $10 million because the application period ended sooner than what the people who could avail themselves of the funds were able to. So. Yeah, there has to be a better way. The application process is definitely going to hold up a lot of things. And, I understand that, there's some issues with tax information. But yeah, I think there has to be a better way. If we can get it through, like with the EIP, that would be much smoother and quicker because, as you know, DRTs is mandated to take care of the income tax refunds. And that's a lot as it is. And so having to deal with work with another program that's pretty hefty, I think, now's the time to perhaps think of a streamlined way to accomplish this. I mean, it is going to happen, but just, the time, it's as far as, it's a waiting game right now when it's going to be implemented.
I think what's also interesting is that when the governor expanded it to include the GovGuam employees and retirees, she was asked, well, because you're expanding it and only $30 million was appropriated for this program, are you going to then, provide additional funding? And she said no, because the law said 30 million. So I'm not sure if anybody even knows how much more it's going to cost.
I'm just confused because the law also didn't say that GovGuam retirees were included. So are we following the law, or are we just amending an existing law through executive order? And that executive order is not even slowing, it stopped the whole process. Like, the law is there. I feel like we're good to go right now. Like, she could issue the checks like today, right? I don't know.
No, she could issue the checks because if it's being paid with ARPA money.
Let me just ask you this.
She can do what she wants with it. That's what she said.
Yeah. In your opinion, senators, do you believe that the current interim guidance allows for the paying of the RISE Act as it stands now, written in the law?
I think you're right. Every time we come up with some kind of, not a solution, but assistance for the public, we turn around and see an executive order that does something very similar. And her rules are being made up on her own. I mean, it's just bypassing and being in the state of emergency still, gives her that authority to do basically carte blanche, So you're right. I think it's just her way of, no, it's my idea. And, I'm going to take credit for it. And I'm also going to add this in to make it a little bit different to show that I'm doing more. So it's unfortunate. It's delaying a lot of process. I think it was well vetted during the session, especially on the RISE Act. There was a lot of debate on that, and how to fund it. Now remember, this is a time we didn't know that the ARPA money was coming in, so and that was just 117 million on that. Now we're having 600 million come in. So I just think that a plan should have been put in place as soon as we found out we had this money. And I really thought we were going to come to the table, come up with these ideas to assist the public, especially those who've been out of a job, especially those businesses that are out of a job. I think we need to stay away from so much of funding government agencies, and giving them, the sky's falling with money and what do you want? You can have this, you can have. I think it's being managed wrong. And until we can see her plan, which we are all standing, fist tight, waiting to see that plan coming out from her, there's really, we're status quo because she has the full authority on the spending of that money.
What do you think, Senator Sabina? Does the ARP guidance as it stands today allow for the paying of the RISE Act as per the law that was passed?
Yeah, I think, I do agree with the speaker when she said that this one is probably the least jeopardized or, this is what the money was meant for, was direct assistance. And so, I agree with that sentiment that, the money should be dispersed because
and the congressman, when he broke down the legislature's spending plan the day that the interim final guidance came down by the U.S. Treasury, he went down the legislature's spending plan, and he did say, because it was right at the top, that the payment of the RISE Act, and he said, yeah, this is definitely doable. So. And the congressman, when he broke down.
Well, what do you guys think of the communications director chiming in and saying that waiting until the guidance is final is the prudent thing to do?
Yeah, I think that's their discretion for sure. But if it was, that is their prerogative. But I think it's well within the guidelines to disperse the money.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit here. The PUA running out in September. We had Labor Director Dave Della Sola on yesterday. We had also kind of talked a little bit, Bree, about the unemployment insurance with the PUA running out in September, but we haven't seen, or have we, refresh my memory. Where are we with that standing of that UI program?
Yeah, I don't think there's much that has been mentioned about the development of a UI insurance for Guam. I think right now the focus has been on getting people back to work. I know yesterday Director David Della Sola was talking about at least requiring those that are applying or claiming for PUA to have at least tried to look for jobs through the hire.guam. And so that kind of breaks them into the process. And we definitely want to phase in, at least develop the workforce, as much as possible during this time. And I just want to encourage those that are in the program that are receiving assistance to, really kind of look for these opportunities, because when that time comes, they're going to be probably bombarded with a lot of other, these businesses are going to be bombarded with a lot of other applicants. So now's the time to really reach out. And I am working too with Dr. Mary Cotta. I do want to help out with the boot camps. So there are roughly about 29,000 people obtaining assistance. I think it's been decreasing. The last batch was at 17 million. Prior to that was 25 million. So the amount of claims are decreasing. So perhaps, my hope is that there are more people getting and looking for jobs. And this is an opportunity to diversify our economy.
Maybe we should do like a apply and win. We're doing the Vax and Win. Maybe we need to do an apply and win program to encourage people to get off and get out there and go apply for jobs. What do you think?
But yeah, I think. I think those are definitely viable alternatives. They actually, one of the recommendations for sustainability, for especially with people, more people that need assistance, that is the one of the tools that are very effective at implementing any kind of any policies. So yeah, money incentives are important policy tool to have. But as far as winning something, of course I would like to try to work the policy without having those incentives. That should be like the last resort, I think.
Yeah. So let me get this straight, Chris. You're proposing we come up with a concept to offer people the chance to win cash and prizes in order to apply for a job so that they would earn a regular wage.
Yeah.
Gary Hiles, the Department of Labor economist, is coming on later.
He's coming on. We're going to ask him. No,
his mind's going to be blown if you tell him that.
I'm just saying, give them money, make their job be going out there to look for a job.
That's crazy.
Because obviously people are, and the problem, we keep saying this, is the PUA pays so much more than these jobs that are being offered, right? And I mean, who in their right mind, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it, who in their right mind is going to get off the PUA to go make minimum wage, and then they're not even going to be making the real minimum wage because they delayed the minimum wage increase. So yeah, I mean, are people, I wouldn't hate on them, they're just doing what they can in any situation. I mean, if you're going to sit here and receive this PUA and it's going to be way more than you would get out here working a real job, so to speak, then more power to you. You can't blame them. But come September now.
Yeah, and that's what Dave Della Sola said.
Yeah.
There is a massive risk that you are playing with, and that's a very, very dangerous game to play.
Well, I don't know if it's that much of a gamble, because if people are just going to stay on the PUA and not apply for these jobs, then they're probably still going to be available in September. I'm just playing devil's advocate, guys.
I think the other thing to think about too is that a lot of the people on PUA didn't have any health insurance necessarily, right? So, that could be another incentive, is that to be able to get health insurance through the employment.
I think Senator Sabina hit on the nose when she talked about GCC and the opportunities that are there right now, especially during summer school. And we're starting to see quite a bit of individuals going to summer school in this year. And there's a bill that was introduced that I introduced. I think, Sabina, you're on this one too. The two of us had introduced legislation to actually provide more funding to GCC to allow for more apprenticeship programs in the technical field, as well as, construction areas that are not in the tourism industry, to forward in that. And of course, to the University of Guam, I think I mentioned this to you too as well, to provide them. It's close to about $14 million to give to the University of Guam and GCC. So this is the opportunity now for people to start growing into a different field other than tourism. And I think Department of Labor should actually do a little bit more to steer these individuals into that direction. Every time you get a PUA check, you're given these pamphlets that say it's your opportunity. And I don't see the Department of Labor passing out these pamphlets to give to the community along with their paychecks.
Wow.
Or their unemployment paychecks.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know why we waited so long to start this job search requirement thing. They should have started that like last month. They should have timed it with the availability of employment in the private sector and be like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of jobs. We're in all this stuff. Get out there and go look for a job. But I think it's a political. I think it's a political thing. They want people to sit here and receive this PUA and have an easy time of it. So come next year, you're like, oh man, Lou and Josh gave me that 2 years of PUA, and I didn't have to look for a job. It was great.
Yeah, I did have that discussion with Director Dave Delasola. I think part of it was that the face-to-face instruction didn't happen yet, and in order to have, I guess they wanted to kind of phase it in so that people would have educational opportunities. So I think that was part of the issue.
Switching gears again, let's kind of update on this, the privatization of the tax collection. I know last time we had you on, Senator Sabina, it was in court, but they've actually issued, what is it, the RFP, IFB, or?
Yeah, the invitation for bid for tobacco stamps themselves, not for the enforcement of it.
Right.
That was already released, I believe, earlier this month. But they're still going in court as far as, the judge still has to decide on the writ. So I believe the AG's office has until the end of the month to reply. So there was a back and forth basically going on in court.
And then how would you characterize the AG side of this back and forth?
Well, I think they gave 3 points. One, I believe, was that they said that they did not have any standing, and that was argued by argued by Wesco. But the one thing that in the response, I believe they didn't address that they've already started the procurement. So with the invitation for bid. And I think just, DRT still, there's nothing banning DRT from actually, holding up the program internally. So they can still do that. So I think that's, if they so choose to do so, but it looks like from what their submissions to the court is that they're going to proceed with the RFP at a cost of $17 million. Which, DRT can do it for a fraction of that cost, about $400,000 to do. And the rest of that money could go towards the health of our people. So, DRT still has that option.
How does this impact the Healthy Futures Fund, Senator, if we go through with this, paying this political private company to collect, 17? We're going to pay them $17 million. What does that do for cancer patients?
Wow. That could definitely, as you know, definitely that can help a lot of patients. And Department of Public Health, a lot of their funding goes to direct services. So yeah, I can imagine that would help a lot of people with cancer.
Right,
as well as other.
Senator Tello, I mean, you're a former cancer patient. This got to hit close to home for you.
Knock on wood, right? This that way, but it is, and it's on the political perspective of it, this program could be implemented. The governor could start this program right away. All it does is need her say to the Department of Revenue and Taxation, let's do it, let's get it done. And let's take that $17 million to sustain the Department of Revenue and Taxation to implement this program and also provide those nonprofit organizations. It's as simple as that. We just talked earlier about the RISE Act and how she, all it does is a simple executive order, to start her own program. This could have been done, and it was being done before this bill was passed. The former deputy director, Santos, Mrs. Santos, who started and was excited about it. And then it got politically tampered with per se, by certain individuals who have interest, special interest in this legislation, who should have basically exempted herself from any kind of voting or put her name on any kind of part of this legislation. There's a conflict of interest. So you could see politics at its worst here, on special interest, and at this, at the detriment of our own people, and especially those who are most vulnerable, those who are dealing with cancer. It's just very frustrating for me seeing that it hits hard to the point I have no problem exposing those people for who they are. And I think the people of Guam really need to know that and see what's going on. The governor can start this program and do it now. Why isn't she?
Well, let's keep eyes on it. Senator Sabina, environment-wise, did you have anything with that as part of your oversight? Guam EPA, I think that they've been dealing with picking up abandoned vehicles, or the mayors. There's something there.
Yeah, they definitely. It's good to see that they're making use of the Recycling Revolving Fund money, appropriately. And I know that there was some issue about they need the funds for bigger projects, and I think that is in the works regarding another bill that I'm working on to help address that. But in regards to, I do have a public hearing tomorrow.
Oh.
And in the morning is the informational hearing regarding the procurements, the sole source and emergency procurements. And in the afternoon, I have hearings for underground storage tech rules and regs, and then as well as a resolution to eradicate snakes in Cocos Island. So yeah, those are some things that are happening.
I like them. Not too sexy on the environmental underwater storage tank rules and regs. Not exactly clickbait, but it's good stuff.
Yes.
I wanted to ask Senator Taitakwi about her Bill 152. And if you could kind of go through that.
Yeah, thank you, Sabine, for that question. And I'd like to thank Senator Sabina Paris, who's my first co-sponsor, along with Senator Brown. And this basically is a bill that was introduced in the 35th Guam legislature. Never had the time of day, actually. But it's very simple. It's based on an OPA report number 19-2, and that's basically to clean the books and all those inactive dormant accounts that are there. And this is kind of unsexy too. Underground storage tanks, but it's just cleaning the books. It needs to be done. I've been working with public auditor VJ Cruz to do this. I've also spoken with Ed Burns, who also chimed in. He had some verbiage he would like to include. I think we'll do that during the public hearing. And that is just to add the balances of $59 that's in that account that's been sitting there for 20 years to be transferred to the general fund. So it's as simple as that, just doing some cleaning up.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
And also, if I can,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, if I could just do a plug-in on June 23rd at 5 p.m., there's going to be an informational hearing at the legislature, a very, very important one. It's been said that this medical malpractice mandatory arbitration current law is going to have, the intent is to repeal it and to formulate a new process. And this process is going to be hopefully a balance between both a physician and a patient. So during the hearing, informational hearing, it'll be a comparative between the current law and the proposed legislation so that people can be well versed. And that's what I've been doing, going out to the public, talking to individuals, calling them up, driving down to Talofofo, and explaining what medical malpractice arbitration is today and what the intention is to change it to for balance. And a lot of people had no idea, had no clue. And it usually is the case until something happens to you or something like this happens to a family member, a loved one, that you find out what's really behind it. And then when they try to speak out, you get these individuals in the community who are, doctors and basically going after you and bullying you to the point where you can't say anything at all. Well, now for those people who are not able to speak because they felt intimidated, the opportunity is now to come out, listen, be well educated on this legislation, and put your 2 cents into it, because this is what it's all about, the process. So thank you for that plug-in.
Right, that's going to be
also,
a good one to watch. Go ahead, Senator.
Also, abandoned vehicles. I had spoken to Senator Sabina Paris about this too, because we're doing we've been working on this for about 3 months. The abandoned vehicle program, it obviously needs a lot of help, because you're getting agencies from, if you look at a pyramid, you're starting from the mayors to EPA to Guam Police Department, and then even Revenue Tax to be involved with abandoned vehicles. This is also an issue that's happening on base as well. A lot of these abandoned vehicles are actually service members who are leaving island, and you know, they buy a
Don't even disparage our military like that. I will not.
But it's true. I mean, we have it in our own complex here. They left their vehicles when they get stationed, go somewhere else. They'd leave it and expect us to, you know, clean up or take care of it when they leave. We're finding a lot of that. But I've also talked with Admiral Manoni, and he said, you know what, Senator, we're having the same problem on base too. These individuals are leaving their vehicles. I spoke to my sister from Honolulu. Hawaii's having the same issue. Service members just leaving their vehicles on the side of the road and then going to the next destination. And then when they're contacted, they're said, oh, I signed the ownership over to a different person. So it's become an issue here. The funding is I was talking to Senator Sabina that Revenue Tax needs to really be involved, because the cost of this is becoming even more. You're going through the revolving recycling fund, you know, trying to find money for these abandoned vehicles and remove them. So it's a big issue. It's about collaborating all these agencies from EPA, Revenue Tax, Guam Police Department, the mayor's office, and there could be one more entity, which could be Department of Public Works, that might be now a part of it. So the abandoned vehicle program needs to be fixed. We can't put a Band-Aid to it anymore. It has to be a full pyramid structure that covers everything, so no agency can pawn off the issue to another agency. Let's fix this and fix it right. So this is something I've been working on for several months, speaking with mayors and other agencies. So that's something to look out for, and appreciate anybody's input at all to please call my office. It's okay to call yours too, right, Sabina? So with regards to this abandoned vehicles, and Senator Frank Bloss too as well, who's been working on this to get this moving. Please call our offices if you have any suggestions or comments or issues that you see happen to you in your village with abandoned vehicles.
Senator Sabina,
thanks, guys.
You're welcome, Senator. Just before we go, the GSA informational hearing, I know we'd asked you about this a few times back, was the purchases under $10,000. Are you going to be asking about that and the process kind of, and whether or not it holds up to the following of the procurement law?
Yeah, I think that's something, yeah, definitely. We'd like to get clarity on also just that, as well as the rationale for choosing both emergency sole source. Yeah, what is their procedures? Any inconsistencies that we're seeing? So definitely.
Is Claudia going to be attending, the chief procurement officer? Oh wow, good get. Okay, thank you. Anything in closing, senators?
Dr. Macaris, if you ever get a chance, if you need his number, let me know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a name from the past.
I know. Yeah. Because I've been watching. Exactly. I can see the posturing that well, at least one local doctor is doing, and what they like not going to treat cancer patients because they don't like a bill that's being discussed in the legislature. It's just a little bit much. So.
And Dr. Macaris actually touched on that particular thing. He says, absolutely not. You know, that's where they get all their funding from and money. So It's good to talk to him. I heard he was speaking to another media and said it, and he didn't hold back. And Sabrina, if you remember him, he doesn't usually hold back.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I'm not saying
He's a
always
fighter.
right. He's a fighter, right? I always appreciate people like that who, who's not afraid to say what's on their mind. They're not always, I'm not saying they're always right. I'm just saying that at least they're not afraid to say it or are being intimidated. And that's, or turn a blind eye, expose it. So that's what we really need to do more often. I think it's starting to see that. I'm starting to see a lot of people speak up
Me
and
too.
not turning that.
And I'm gonna put you two senators in that category because Lord knows you guys have been attacked by political forces for just trying to do your job. So I appreciate that you guys have the courage to speak out, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Inspiring.
Okay.
It's very inspiring.
Thank you, senators.
Create a great day, everybody.
Right on.
Take care.
There you go. Republican Senator Tello Taitagui and Democrat Senator Sabina Perez. Good morning. It's 7:26. Let's take a quick break, guys. What do you think? We'll be back with more of The Link and Dr. Ho Wen of the Physicians Advisory Group. Next, we're going to talk about the unvaccinated. Yes, and Dr. Owens. The unclean. Oh, God.
Hey, good
Those who
morning, guys.
cannot win $10,000.
That's pretty
Or a
nice.
brand new car.
Or a brand new car. Yeah, so
That's
he
two
sent
lucky people.
Yeah, he sent me this article where it talks just about the hospitalizations, and the one thing a lot of them have in common is, guess what? They're not vaccinated. So we'll talk about that coming up. 7:27. We're back with more of The Link next. Good morning.
Our World War II survivors have endured more sacrifice, suffering, fear, hope, and perseverance than we can ever imagine. Their stories have been passed down from generation to generation and have become a central part of the legacies and histories of our families. As we commemorate our 77th annual liberation, we invite you to share these stories and special memories as we present My Liberation Hero. During the month of July, KUAM will feature these tributes on KUAM News as well as on our digital platforms. We ask that you start your video or written submissions with the phrase, My Liberation Hero is. And please submit pictures of your heroes if you have them. Send your emails to liberation@kuam.com. And let's give everyone a chance to reflect and remember these special times and people in our history. Happy 77th Liberation Day, Guam.
Brought to you by Coast 360 Federal Credit Union, Ordot Dental Clinic, and Vince Jewelers.
Family platter of fried chicken? Check. Tray of red rice? Check. Birthday cake? Check. 1 case of water? Check. 12-pack of beer? Check. 2 cases of Pepsi?
Check. When you have a long checklist but are short on time, we got you. Get it delivered by us. Order on the app or website at uno-go.com. Guam on demand.
Shoot, I forgot the paper product.
Oh wait, UnoGo has that too. KUAM's multi-platform morning show, The Link, just got a little more delicious with Feed Me Fridays. Chris, Sabrina, Jason, and the rest of the morning crew will take some time each Friday to talk food, taste food, and bring you all the latest and greatest in food from King's Restaurants and Ruby Tuesday Guam, old faves, new hits, and everything on the menu in between. It's Feed Me Fridays on The Link.
Catch SportsLink on the KUAM News Morning Show, The Link, every Friday to hear about the latest in sports news, game schedules, athlete profiles, and more. SportsLink,
brought to you each week by Cure Alkaline Water and Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape,
airs every Friday across the multimedia platforms of KUAM. Tune into the broadcast on Breeze 93.9 FM on KUAM TV 11, live streaming through the KUAM News Facebook page, or view highlights on YouTube, KUAM News Facebook, and Instagram. SportsLink is hosted by Dave Delgado through KUAM Sports, and he will make sure that everyone knows what is happening on the fields, in the gyms, and everywhere in between.
As a reporter, I often ask people what compelled them to get the COVID-19 vaccine. For me, someone who's lived through coronavirus, I can't help but fear the idea of possibly infecting others, unknowingly passing it along to someone with a lesser immune system, someone's mother, father, grandparent, or someone who wouldn't be as blessed to suffer only minor symptoms. When I contracted COVID, that is what weighed most on my heart and mind, and that's why I did everything in my power to prevent this from happening, by following public health protocols. And now I am doing the same thing, being mindful my decisions, choices, and actions don't only affect me, but the entire nation. So I chose to get vaccinated, simply to protect others. My name is Adriana Cotero. I'm a KUAM News reporter and anchor, and a proud member of the Vaccine Nation.
Join the vaccination. Scan and plan. For more information, go to KUAM.com.
Brought to you by American Medical Center, your partner in healthcare.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by the Bank of Guam and KFC. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
KUAM Communications continues our perpetuation of our Chamorro culture, language, and heritage, with features available to our listening and viewing audience, including streaming of Chamorro music 24 hours per day on Isla Digital Radio on KUAM.com and the KUAM News app. Chamorro News Update, weekdays on the link and the KUAM News YouTube channel. Conversations about life in our Chamorro language podcast, Cuentos Tapaco, with Kin Conception, seasonal specials, shows, and other features highlighting the beauty of our language, culture, and history. It's a new era of our continued commitment to our Chamorro heritage. Isla, watch, listen, stream. Viva Isla!
Help us celebrate the class of 2021. KUAM wants to help you celebrate this touchstone moment in the lives of your graduates. For the months of May and June, we will flood the social media pages of KUAM with photos and well wishes for the class of 2021 grads. Log on to KUAM.com to submit photos and brief messages or captions. Then look for your special grad on KUAM Instagram and the Facebook pages from all of your friends here at KUAM. Congratulations, seniors!
Listen, watch, and learn from the daily Chamorro news updates from KUAM News. Catch them on the link during the 8 o'clock hour, streaming online on Isla Radio, or on the KUAM News YouTube channel for your convenience. Tune in and stay informed, all while preserving our precious culture through the daily use of our native Chamorro language. Chamorro news updates are brought to you by your familia at First Hawaiian Bank.
June makes the best malasadas in Hawaii, a fact not lost on Daryl, whose brother Byron is cooking the onaga he caught at his secret fishing spot with his girlfriend Malia, who used to work for the Shave Ice Guy, whose second cousin Vince drives the school bus ridden by Calais, whose auntie makes the best malasadas in Hawaii. Everything here is connected, and with the new First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, you can stay just as connected to your finances, and it all starts with yes.
And Sabrina, call 637-0094. Breeze 93.9 FM.
Antulaika hinasomu saohi tiparon dingozu neni no yumagi nigui naizamu zondala tuparadoni unayola osmu aizansela bemu Loti este sinyapai utuguido neni no yumagi nigui naizamu zondala tuparadoni So if you ever
Chris and Christy in the lawn in the house. 7:34. Hey, good morning. Thursday, June 17th. This is The Link. My name's Chris. Jason's over there being tall. Sabrina Salas-Antonani joined us in the KUAM News Zoom room from Las Vegas, Nevada. What's the temp there today, Bree?
Hot.
Oh, hot. It's hot degrees.
It's probably over 100. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I don't know. It was like 108 yesterday, but it was actually hotter in Guam. It may have been cooler on the thermometer, but it was hot yesterday, guys.
Oh yeah, I went walking yesterday, and I'm pretty much charbroiled now.
I mean, it was like that painful hot. Right, sir?
It's 114 degrees.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna be more brown here, the native people or the grass.
Good one, Jay. Dr. Ho Wen, the chairman of the Physicians Advisory Group, joins us. Doc, can we kind of start with a question? Because we were talking about this, the vaccination effort, and I had gotten a message from, and I'm just going to go ahead and read it to you, and we're going to go ahead and blank out the names. Dear Chris, I was vaccinated in January, first dose of Moderna, had a bad reaction 9 days later. I went to see my primary care physician, and he recommended not getting second dose due to my reaction. He advised me to wait for the J&J in May, but at the time when I inquired if anyone had ever switched from Moderna to Johnson & Johnson, it wasn't done yet, so I declined getting it. I called my primary care physician about a week ago to see if he had given it some thought about me getting the vaccine, and he said it was not recommended. What advice could Dr. Hoa give to those who may be experiencing the same situation?
Yeah, that's a very valid question, and it can be answered by two ways, right? I mean, if you have a reaction that to the point where you need to have an intramuscular injection of some sort to reverse your reaction, or you need to be somewhere admitted to a hospital, yeah, I wouldn't get the second dose at all. Again, can you get the second dose? Yeah, you can get the second dose. Really depend on what she had. And she had to talk to different physician and get the second opinion. She got the first dose, so she's about 70-80% protect already. But no, can she skip the second dose and not get to 90%? That's a choice that she feel comfortable or not, right? So I think the absolutely contraindication of have any type of second dose because reaction is if you have to need some type of medication to reverse it, or you had to be in the hospital. But majority of the time, yeah, you have some fever, chill, rash, body ache that can be pretty severe, but it's not a contraindication to get the second dose. That's number one. Number two, can you mix the dose, between Moderna and Pfizer? Yes, no, and you can, not something that you want to do. You should stick with the same vaccine if possible, but in case if you don't have someone that make a mistake, it's okay to get the second dose with the different vaccine, with Moderna and Pfizer. Now, there's some studies show that that in case you have to mix the second dose, actually your response to the vaccine is somewhat better. I know it's the same mRNA, but it works differently in some way, and then actually your immune system response is better, but that's not something that we recommended. Now, to jump from Moderna, Pfizer to J&J, yeah, it's not a recommendation that you do that. It's not a totally different type of vaccine. So it's not recommended you jump from mRNA to a different type of vaccine like J&J. Again, J&J, the other one that you have to watch for is in female of the age of 18 to 50, you really recommend them to get another vaccine because there's a slightly risk of having the thrombosis, so the blood clots, that's what they call it. So for female from 18 to 50, we recommend you not get the J&J and go with another vaccine. that's the only thing that you have. On her case, I would say that it really depend on what reaction she really have. Most of us don't want to give an opinion to say that, hey, it's easy to say no, you can skip the second dose, but I don't know the situation. But again, the only thing that contraindication is you have to have some injection to reverse it, or you have to be in the hospital.
Doc, we had another comment here. I think I know the answer to this one already. Any studies currently being conducted on the aftermath of vaccines? The vaccine have very low side effect, and it's a new vaccine. So like anything else new out there, they're going to continue to monitor any type of persistent side effect or reaction from the vaccine as we go every day. There's website that you can go and report this. So so far, there's millions and millions and millions of those given, and they consider very safe vaccine at this point. No, there's nothing that long-term reaction to any vaccine. There's always case, but very, very few cases, even with the normal vaccine like tetanus or MMR, they all have, very few incidents report, but the benefit really outweigh the risk. I also wanted to kind of ask, maybe it's a little early for this, but we did ask before, what's going to happen next year when we have to get the booster? Is there anything more clear on the booster shot for COVID vaccine?
There's report that we more likely will need the booster, an annual booster. There's nothing definitely coming out yet. Our first rollout vaccination in December. So you are about 6 months out. So I'm very sure that the next few weeks, the next few months, you're going to hear something about the booster. And yes, we have to plan to some strategy to approach the booster, because what we do right now is it's not going to work for the next year or so if we're going to need the booster, especially if the booster are given for free again by the government. So that's something to worry about. And vaccination, immunization, we thought it's going to be anywhere from 6 months to a year. Hopefully it's a year. But if we don't plan carefully, and your immunity kind of wean off at the end of 6 months to a year, can we have another surge? Yes, we can. So we really have to be careful on thinking way ahead. Because if your immune system is down, the chance that we have a surge, because the immunity is down for the whole island is a true thing. So we have to start thinking ahead of time and not wait until some of us immune system are down. Just like mine, I had mine in December. So yeah, sometime in October, I'm going to start to worry that, hey, am I going to have the immunity that I want to be to protect myself, my family, and my patient? So I really have to look forward to get a booster somehow.
Can we go over the new protocols that are going into effect? When is it? Later this week, or is it next month?
Yeah, Chris, the new protocol is pretty simple. Whenever the governor approved it to roll out, is that the fully vaccinated people is okay. They're the same. They go home, no PCR testing needed. They just go home with no quarantine. For the partially vaccinated or the unvaccinated, the patient coming in, we're going to require them to have a 72 hours PCR testing before they arrive, okay, to do home quarantine, okay, for 10 days. Now, they can be tested out on day number 6, just like when you're in the hotel quarantine. If they test out negative, then they'll be okay. So that's new things that will come out. And if you come in without the PCR testing as required, you will be in the hotel quarantine, either by the government or by your choice, but you will be paying for it. the government not paying for this because you know the requirement and your choice not to get it before you come in. So you will be hotel quarantine and at expense. So that's the main difference. And, we make exception for some WHO vaccine that's approved, like the AstraZeneca, the AZ, the Sinopharm. Those are the ones that are approved by the WHO. So foreign countries have been and they have those vaccines. The people that are fully vaccinated. So that's a new protocol. Whenever it's come out.
Okay, yeah, June 18th. You said AstraZeneca?
Yeah.
Or WHO?
I think Sinopharm and Sinovac are the two that WHO approved. And they have the same efficacy as J&J, and then the high 70, 80% efficacy. So, there is enough study now to validate that. So those will be approved if you can validate that, the vaccine.
Okay. All right.
And, if we do well on that, then hopefully by July, when we have 80% of the island vaccinated or more, and then the next guideline would be much better than this one. So the next one more likely we look at no home quarantine. So that's good.
You guys are meeting, the PAGS meeting, is it Thursday there in Guam? You guys meeting tonight?
Yeah, we meet tonight. Yeah, we have to discuss what is mean by 80%. What coming out and what's the difference. So that's the main things. And we really will meet on get some guidance and thought on what to do with the vaccine next year. We really have to worry seriously because this virus is not going to go away for a long, long time. But if our current defense is immunity from the vaccine, if the immunity is down and you don't have your vaccine on time, you're going to get sick. Your risk of getting sick is high.
Are you guys talking about not wearing masks or anything like that? Because I'm over here in Vegas, and I was on the Strip yesterday, and I saw nobody. I felt so uncomfortable. I was probably one of the few people, aside from my brothers, that were wearing masks, and it was really awkward. Even when I stepped outside, there was no social distancing. People were just roaming the streets, having a good time. No masks at all.
No, I tell you, the mandatory mask use will be there quite a while, even we reach 80%. I think we're very firm with that. Mask use have been shown to cut down the risk of infection quite a bit. And around people that that they fully vaccinated. Okay, just around any gathering or at your household, masks you don't have to wear a mask. But in public, there's about at least 15-20% of us out there that will not be vaccinated, and those are the high risk patients now. Doesn't matter how old they are, and again, those people still can carry the virus, and so you still need to wear your mask in public, especially in a crowded place. I think that most of us are so used to it in the past year that habit will be not easy to give up at this point.
Right. Well, Sabrina's in Vegas.
What about an article this morning? Even in the United States, we see the same thing, right? The majority of people in the hospital now, COVID-19, are unvaccinated, and that's the message that we want to get across: is that vaccination cut your risks of hospitalization down significantly. That's the main reason, and if you have the virus and you're vaccinated, the chance you're not going to be that sick, chances that the transmission rate is very low to people around you. So I'm not still quite sure why people are still waiting. I think that half and half still waiting. The other half is really they're not going to get vaccinated. Doesn't matter what. That's personnel.
Maybe we need to make it 20 grand a week.
Yeah. And the people that still hesitant because misinformation out there somewhere, they need to talk to the physician and get the true picture of the risk and benefit of the vaccine and get themselves vaccinated. That's the other half of the people that are still unvaccinated that have some hesitancy because of some misinformation. So get the right information, get yourself protected. Again, is for you, for people around you and your family you want to protect.
We had Chima on yesterday, and I asked about mandatory vaccination, for school children specifically, because TB, it's required that you have the TB shot before you go to school. Is that something also the PAG is talking about?
Yeah, mandatory vaccination is something we definitely talk about. I know GRMC is mandatory now, and AMC been mandatory now for the past 2 or 3 weeks, so we're 100%. There's no exception with if you're pregnant, if you worry about if you have some religious belief or you have some medical condition that really you cannot have. But mandatory vaccination is going to catch up with the private sector. There's a lawsuit recently, and I talked to my brother that he's work in Pensacola, Florida now, and his hospital is waiting for the decision of the I think one of the hospital in Texas, Methodist something, that put a mandatory for all the employees at the hospital to be vaccinated with the COVID-19. And 100 people filed a lawsuit for that in the federal court, and they lost. The federal judge said that you have a choice, go work somewhere else, but the hospital will have the right to mandate the COVID-19 to protect the patient and protect themselves. So I think that's going to be catching up here, and if it's challenged right now, but if the next level of court that will also endorse that that hospital, I tell you, there's a lot of hospitals follow, including the hospital he worked in Pensacola, because they really like to be mandated that. For the school, we really have to go back to some face-to-face. The kids are devastated for them to be homeschooled. I tell you, they miss a whole year of school. So, that's something that if we mandate people to have PPD skin tests to be safe, but that's infectious, right? And COVID-19, the same thing. There's possibility that you can mandate the student go back. That's why we try to push so hard during this summer for the kid to be vaccinated, because that 3 feet distance need to go away, by next year. There's no reason to have 3 feet. Now, you can wear masks in school, but the 3 feet distance for learning, they can go away next year. And that's something that I think the physician advisory group are trying to push for that direction. It's up to the DOE superintendent to make decision, but to us, we feel comfortable that social distance can go away if at least 80% of the kids are vaccinated.
All right. Well, thank you, Doc. Thanks for always being accessible.
Right on. Appreciate it.
All right.
Be
Stay safe.
You too, Doc. Okay, there you go. Dr. Ho Wen, Physicians Advisory Group Chair at 7:54. This is the link. Good morning. Coming up, we're getting Jerry Perez, the Deputy President of the Guam Visitors Bureau, and I think he's going to be joined by Uncle Carl, the President of GVB. Also coming up here, we have Gary Hiles, Chief Economist with the Department of Labor, Sergeant Paul Tapao, the Guam Police Department, and we're going to go live to FSM Consul Therese Philippin who's going to be standing by at the airport as another repatriation flight is scheduled to depart this morning, Sabrina?
Right, that is going to be departing today, and a lot of the FSM citizens, as you know, have been stranded not just on Guam but in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
And so prior to departure, they have to do a quarantine here,
Pre-quarantine.
and then they're able to leave. Then
Right.
they have to have the COVID vaccination before they get on the plane. Then they go to Ponape, and then they have to do a whole nother set of quarantine there.
I was about to sneak on that plane. I'm ready to get out of here for a minute, guys. So yeah, we're going to do that all coming up right here on The Link. You know what they say, miss a link, miss a lot. So guess what? Don't miss a link, Nye. We'll take a break, and we're coming back with more. Good morning.
Looking for TV
Our World War II survivors have endured more sacrifice, suffering, fear, hope, and perseverance than we can ever imagine. Their stories have been passed down from generation to generation and have become a central part of the legacies and histories of our families. As we commemorate our 77th annual liberation, we invite you to share these stories and special memories as we present My Liberation Hero. During the month of July, KUAM will feature these tributes on KUAM News as well as on our digital platforms. We ask that you start your video or written submissions with the phrase, My Liberation Hero is. And please submit pictures of your heroes if you have them. Send your emails to liberation@kuam.com. And let's give everyone a chance to reflect and remember these special times and people in our history. Happy 77th Liberation Day, Guam.
Brought to you by Coast 360 Federal Credit Union, Ordot Dental Clinic, and Vince Jewelers.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by the Bank of Guam and KFC.
Uno Go, delivering meals from your favorite restaurants and more, including delivering sodas and adult beverages from the Bottle Shack. Visit uno-go.com or download the app today. Also follow them on Instagram and Facebook.
June makes the best malasadas in Hawaii, a fact not lost on Daryl, whose brother Byron is cooking the onaga he caught at his secret fishing spot with his girlfriend Malia, who used to work for the Shave Ice Guy, whose second cousin Vince drives the school bus ridden by Calais, whose auntie makes the best malasadas in Hawaii. Everything here is connected, and with the new First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, you can stay just as connected to your finances, and it all starts with yes.
KUAM News, in partnership with the Guam Visitors Bureau, brings you the Guam Safe and WTTC Safe Travel Certified Program Showcase. Look out for this powerful symbol for visitors, island residents, and industry workers alike, as it represents establishments with a consistent global commitment to safety practices. Stamped with approval by the Guam Visitors Bureau and the World Travel Tourism Council. Every Monday on KUAM News will feature a different local business who's taken the Safe Guam and Safe Travels pledge to maintain health and safety standards to get Guam back on track. Log on to visitguam.com to see how your business can receive the designation, what businesses in our community are Guam Safe certified, and have the WTTC Safe Travel certified.
We got your 6
at 6 a.m. with The Link on Breeze 93.9 FM. Bree and I connect you with all the latest news and information you need to know to start your day.
Then check back with Guam's news leader at 6 p.m. for the day's top headlines with KUAM News Primetime.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and everything else in between with KUAM Digital, we got your 6. Morning. Good morning, KUAM TV. Good morning, Sabrina Salas Mantanani.
Good morning, Christopher.
Good morning, Jason Salas.
It's going to be a bright, sunshiny day.
You know, a very wise man once said, "Might be Guam is hot. Might be Guam is hot." It's a hot one.
Who was that wise man?
I don't know, but that guy should get a medal.
Yeah.
He should win a car or something.
Okay, here's the question. No, here's the question. This is a very serious question.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, the Vax to Win raffle promo is not structured by this. I mean, you get the prize they assign you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had the choice between 10 grand or a brand new car,
10 grand.
What would you choose?
I don't know. Wait, that's a tough one.
You might have to think about this. Okay,
let me think about it. 10 grand.
Would you take the 10 grand or would you take, and is it 10 grand straight up or is it like annuities that you get over a series of months?
Yeah, they pay you $2 over the next 85 years. No, Jay, you get it up front. It's a big check. You need the big driver's license to cash it.
Yeah, because I know the winner yesterday had like the big, like.
You got to go to Rev and Tax to get the big driver's license because it's the big check.
Yeah. Well, we want to know what you guys think. This is not the case. Let me make sure to clarify that. But if you did have a choice between $10,000 cash and a car, what would you take? I'm thinking I go with the car.
You know what's great though is
the car yesterday. The car yesterday was valued at $16,000.
Wow.
Nice.
Right.
Just saying.
I was just imagining that guy fitting his 7 kids in that little car.
You know what? That was one of the things that I liked about seeing that yesterday. Like when they said, and here's the winner, and we'd like to meet like your family and everything.
Yeah.
The fact that there were like children who are now going to benefit from vaccination,
right.
And on the family, and also from the gift and everything like that. I mean, that made me feel good.
I just want to say thank you to the people of Guam. I mean, I think it's great that we're enticing people to go out and get this vaccination. And I think it's great. I don't know where the money comes from, but probably it's our money. So thank you guys. Good job. Way to go. And we'll do it again next Wednesday. So what's happening for next Wednesday, Jay?
I inquired and I was like, I just need to know like what the format's going to be so we can plan and everything. Are we doing, kind of like teasers for lack of a better term at 7:21, as planned, and then 3:00 is the real one. But I believe for next week they're gonna try and nail it for 7:21 in the morning. Because 7/21 corresponding, of course, with July 21st, which is Liberation Day on Guam.
Right. So hopefully they'll figure it out by next week.
Yeah, because what's the point of doing a teaser? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of cool to have Crystal come on and read the JIC update. Right? It was like throwback, way back Wednesday.
So again, guys, what do you guys?
I should have just messaged her
the news. Script. Yeah, message her the news.
Can you just do the news for me?
Jay, go give her a KUAM blazer. Throw it back.
We got a few back there.
I know. Give a new meaning to the term public service.
Okay, so what do you guys think? We want to hear in comments. Even call up if you want.
Right,
we'll pop the number up 637-0094 if you want to talk to us on Breeze 94 FM. So if you had the choice between $10,000 cash, straight up, with the big oversized check, which I believe you get to keep, or a car, what would you take? I'm saying car. Chris, you would say cash.
Cash all the way. Cash is king, bro.
What do you say, Joe, sir?
Cash. Yep.
Okay, Joe sir took a second, then he said cash. What about you, Bree?
Cash.
Yeah.
Cash? Okay.
And a lot of these drawings, though, they have like a caveat that if you win a car, you can't turn around and sell it. So when I do like the mall giveaways, you have to like keep the car and then for a certain amount of time, then you also got to like pay the taxes on it or something. So I don't know if you can, if you guys are thinking about flipping the car, because I know some people out there, okay, it depends what kind of car is it, because 10 grand, but what if it's a car that's worth like 30 grand?
Yeah. But is it okay? So you can't flip it, but is it transferable? Can you like take it and give it to
We don't know because where's the rules? Is there rules for the contest?
They may have.
There's no rules. That's crazy. Legal got to get on those rules because every contest, especially one like this, I mean, you're just opening yourself up for liability, right? If you don't have the rules and I mean, it's true. And usually in a drawing of this magnitude, you would have freaking 3 pages of fine print that say, item car is not transferable or winner must do this or that. I don't know. There's no rules.
I am bringing up the website right now and just gotta do that whole thing where you accept the.
Maybe it's on the website, Jay.
Yeah, I'm here right now.
It is what it is.
Okay, official rules.
All right.
Okay. God, you thought you had to scroll a while to like accept the.
I told you guys. So there are rules. Good job.
Let me see if I can get the short version of this. Additional terms. Okay. And I am blind as a bat at my age right
Yeah.
now. So, I'm gonna look this up and I'll get the answer to you guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. We did hear, though, that cabinet was not eligible. And, guys, don't hate on the Munoz because they... Come on, guys. Let's be mature here. They can enter, too, and win. They're not cabinet members. I don't even think Vice Speaker Tina Munoz-Barnes is not a cabinet member.
No, we did ask Senator Tello and Senator Sabina earlier when when we were in commercial break, and we just said jokingly, we're like, hey, wait a minute, you guys are still eligible, and they're like, technically, I believe so. But yeah, and even though there are a few of those, let's just call them like snipes, right, in the comments, there were a couple snarky ones.
Yeah.
I was actually
It was funny.
I was actually very pleased to see that, like when I was going through like our Instagram comments.
But you just didn't. I mean, people are going to say that. You guys know they're going to say it, and I'm pretty sure when they did the drawing in Adelup and they pulled that Juan Munoz guy, I guarantee you there were people at Adelup who were like, oh, God, they're going to hate on this. I roll. Of course. This is Guam.
But
like I said earlier.
But there were also
We're bad losers.
There were also a lot of comments that people were just saying, heartfelt congratulations and, hey, good on you.
Good
yeah,
on you,
congratulations.
Man. Hey, man. Way to go, dude. Enter it. Jay, what's the, how do you enter?
Yeah, I'd go to visitguam.com/VAX, visitguam.com/vax, and it takes you probably 30 seconds, if even that, to register.
What do the rules say about the car?
Yeah, I can actually see something about like. I mean, if it's in your nuclear family, I'm sure you could say, okay, I want it.
You
I'm
don't want to
gonna
be
want
sure.
it, and then now
I'm
the
not
wife
going to go with
uses
what Jason Solis says. I want to go with what the rules say. Anyway, guys, you can check out the rules. It's on that website that Jason just gave out. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I can't really.
He's
see
going
anything.
cross-eyed trying to find it.
Yeah.
It's 8:08. Let's go ahead and get into the news
I'm
now.
gonna need $10,000 just to correct my Keith then pretty soon. Oh, by the way, there are a couple of you who are asking. When I came back from vacation.
That's Jason Solis, ladies and gentlemen.
I now wear bifocals, and this is the first. I'm 40. I just turned 47, right?
Right.
And this is the first time in my life I've worn glasses, dude. Bifocals are no joke, man. I am like struggling to get used to these things.
Wow.
I need some. Okay, yeah. Joe Sir he keeps telling. Then Joe Sir is motivating me. He goes, just keep doing it. Your eyes will adjust. It's been about 2 weeks.
I couldn't hang, dude. I was like having trouble reading, kind of like up close, and so I went, and I got the whole eye thing, and I got glasses, but it was giving me a headache, so I just quit wearing it.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
And Bree, how long have you worn glasses?
What do they
Bree?
call it? It's called self-care, Jay. But of course,
I had to
15
eat. Years. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Spent $300 on glasses, so that sucked.
You know what is funny? We've real short story. We've had a few of
Tell
our
a long one, Jay. We'll make it short.
We've had a few of our KUM alumni who have gone on to different careers, and we've had several former reporters who have now become lawyers. Practically all of them, when they come back and like visit us and everything, if they didn't wear glasses before, they wear glasses now. Our good friend like Rachel Taimanao Zuzu, who we had on the show, she's one of the lawyers that, among other things, she's representing clients in the quarantine suit. She came by after she finished law school, and she came by to visit and everything. She's like, "Hey guys, can I read something like off the screen?" And we're like, "Wow." And she's like, "Dude, 2.5 years of reading really, really small print will do something to your eyes."
Let's go ahead and get into the news now. It's 8:09 here with the very latest.
We love Rachel, though. Shout out to Rachel.
With the very latest live from Las Vegas, Nevada, Sabrina Solis Matanani. Good morning, Sabrina.
Off today, everybody. Beginning June 19th, vaccinated arriving passengers and those with a negative PCR test result taken within 72 hours prior to arrival will now be exempt from quarantine. The governor issued a new executive order authorizing the new protocol, which also paves the way for GVB's Airbnb program to attract American expats to Guam for vaccinations. It also identified AstraZeneca as an approved vaccine, which promotes travel here by vaccinated Korean citizens who no longer have to undergo quarantine when returning home. The order also authorized the reopening of the island's senior centers effective July 1st. Also on the 1st of July, the moratorium on foreclosure and eviction proceedings will be lifted. The Joint Information Center reports 10 new positive cases of COVID-19 out of 466 samples on Tuesday. 4 cases were identified through contact tracing. 1 reported recent travel and was identified in quarantine. The two cases are reported hospitalized, and both are at GMH. To date, there have been a total of 8,261 officially reported cases with 139 deaths. 56 are active, and a little over 8,000 have recovered. Guam's COVID area risk score remains at 0.4. As of Wednesday, 88,465 individuals have been fully vaccinated against the virus. With more news now, here's Tyler Mazzanani.
Bree, I'm sorry about that.
Half a day, everyone. I'm Tyler Mazzanani with your headlines here on The Link. A man shot in the sleepy village of Malesu was taken to the hospital for treatment. KUAM's Isaiah Uggan has more.
South Doyle Street in Malesu is described as a quiet neighborhood. We arrived to the scene where yellow caution tape cordoned off the area. The Guam Police Department reported that a male with a gunshot wound to his leg area was transported to the hospital for treatment and care. Officers from the Southern Precinct Command responded to the shooting incident in the Southern Village just before noon. KUAM spoke with a village resident who wishes to remain anonymous, stating that she heard a loud bang around 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. She said that when she exited her residence that a male and female in a red truck and a van was in the middle of the road having an argument. The resident also shared that the individuals were yelling at each other, saying, "Did you see that?" and yelled, "Get down." She couldn't tell what kind of bang it was because she was in her room. However, it sounded like 2 cars colliding. The shooting occurred at the Gura housing in Malesu. Agency officials arrived to the scene, informing KUAM that all their staff are safe. KUAM reached out to Mayor Ernest Chargloff, who said he was out of the village when he received a call about the shooting. He said it's a shock because his village is quiet. The investigation is still ongoing. More updates to come. Reporting for Guam's News Network, Guahusi Isaiah Uggan.
In the familiar words of the game show announcers, you're the lucky winner of a brand new car. The governor's office held the first of 6 weekly prize drawings in the Vax and Win program on Wednesday. Here's what it looked like.
Juan Muña and Peter Paul Cepeda are the winners of this week's grand prizes, a new car and $10,000 in cash, respectively.
Because I didn't know whether it was car, this, or the money or anything, but I found out this morning, so we really didn't know until we got up there. When we got up there, the governor walked in and she told us, and we were super ecstatic. I really feel that everybody on the island should get vaccinated to help all our people on the island and, open up, hopefully the island open up even more.
This morning when they called me, they asked me if I have time at 3 o'clock. I told them I don't have time. Then they turned the words around and you want something. So I said, oh, I'll change my mind. I'll go down at 3.
A good thing it came down, huh?
Yes.
All right, congratulations. The promotion is designed to entice people to get vaccinated as part of the governor's goal to reach herd immunity, or 96,000 vaccinations, by the July 21st Liberation Day celebration.
We still have a long ways to go to reach our 80%, and we encourage everybody to please, as the director said, please get out there and get vaccinated. We're hoping that this incentive would motivate people to go out and be vaccinated.
At the time of the drawing, some 38,690 had signed up. Once again, drawings for a new car and $10,000 in cash will be held every Wednesday until July 21st.
Deployments and retirements continue to challenge the Guam Fire Department. Most recently, the lack of manpower has led to the shutdown of as many as 4 units across the island. Jonah Gintarfras has more.
We've had our good days and we've had our bad days. Guam Fire Department spokesperson Cherika Chargaloff referring to the shortage in personnel to man medic, rescue, and engine units. The shortage has taken its toll, forcing the shutdown of a handful of units.
Ideally, we have none. There are days where we have 1. And of course, over drill weekend, we've experienced our shortest, which was 4 units down.
But despite the shutdown of some medics on any given day and possible wait times, Chargaloff wants to reassure residents that their E911 center is trained to provide callers with pre-arrival instructions.
We do have first responder units, fire trucks, rescue units that are able to respond to the scene and assist with the patient until an ambulance transport unit becomes available to take that patient to the hospital.
It was just 2 weeks ago when Fire Chief Dan Stone appeared on the link with Chris and Sabrina, detailing GFD's lack of manpower.
We are definitely starting to feel the challenges in that area. Our staffing, with people retiring, because people did retire during COVID. People have retired early on this year. We've had retirements in 2019. So we are definitely working with the administration to try and address that and get that staffing, for the hires and promotions. Promotions are very important to me right now because we do have a little bit of a gap in our first line supervision. And so we've been working very closely with the administration, and it looks like we're going to be making some progress in that area here soon.
Chargaloff says the bulk of the challenge is mainly attributed to retirements. For fiscal year 2021, there have been 10 retirements to date, with an anticipated 7 more by the end of the year.
We do have multiple personnel out for military deployment and or annual training. On top of that, we have our onesies, twosies on annual leave, and I believe 2 on paternity.
To offset lack of manpower,
our battalion chiefs have been working hand in hand, both the North, South, and our rescue commanders, to shuffle around their personnel and or realign units to ensure that there's the maximum amount of coverage throughout the island as possible.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Jonah Gunn-Charfris.
We should note that an engine assigned to Barrigada is currently down for maintenance, but a responder unit has been detailed to the station for the time being. Chargaloff, however, says the unit does not have water capabilities. Health insurance coverage has been terminated for the foster care program due to lack of money. In a letter to Vice Speaker Tina Barnes, representatives of the foster parent community say the decision by Aetna to immediately drop its coverage will have a serious impact on the children. They note that while public health has transferred their coverage to Medicaid, they say Medicaid doesn't cover important services such as speech, vision, and occupational therapy. Vice Speaker Barnes has written to the governor seeking funding to continue the insurance coverage. Barnes and Senator Mary Torres sponsored a bill last year to cover the $1.4 million shortage for the foster program. Joint Region Marianas bid fair winds and following seas to Rear Admiral John Manoni on Wednesday. In a ceremony at Naval Base Guam, Admiral Manoni relinquished commander to the new commander of JRM, Rear Admiral Benjamin Nicholson. On hand were Commander of the 7th Fleet, Vice Admiral Bill Merz, who gave the keynote speech. Other speakers included Governor Lou Leon Guerrero and Congressman Michael St. Nicholas, who thanked Manoni for his partnership in serving the local community. Manoni is headed to Virginia Beach, Virginia, where he will serve as commander of Expeditionary Strike Group 2. Admiral Nicholson most recently served as executive assistant to the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in Washington, D.C. That's it for now. We'll see you at 6 tonight on Primetime.
We got your 6
at 6 a.m. with the link on Breeze 93.9 FM. Bree and I connect you with all the latest news and information you need to know to start your day.
Then check back with Guam's news leader at 6 p.m. for the day's top headlines with KUAM News Primetime.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and everything else in between with KUAM Digital, we got your 6.
Fisherman's castle, love is said, the best for last, but the good old times are past. The loving didn't last, and I'm still praying, please. Will she swim back to me? I say, yeah. Ooh, yeah, yeah.
Hey, good morning, KUAM TV. My name is Chris. That's Jason Solis right there.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's 8:21. Let's head into the Zoom room where we have the Vice President of the Guam Visitors Bureau, Mr. Jerry Perez, standing by. Good morning, Jerry.
Morning.
Morning. Let's just get right into it, Jerry. So yesterday we had public health on. We had heard from some GVB sources that there was a holdup with the Airbnb program protocols, and we weren't sure if that holdup was on the public health side or the GVB side. So we asked Chima Mbakwa, hey, what's the holdup? Is it on the public health side? And he said, oh, no, we're only providing technical assistance or guidance. And there was supposed to be a meeting yesterday. That meeting was postponed to Friday, if I'm not mistaken. What is the holdup with the Airbnb? Because we've got all the fanfare. Sometimes if you clap, it'll go back on after.
Well, yesterday that was moved to front adjectives. That
I think we're getting former governor. Man, Jerry, you're really breaking up there.
Sorry?
You're really breaking up there.
Not sure. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Or what?
Let's just start all over. Try and get Governor Gutierrez in here too. Can you hear us, Jerry? We just want to be heard.
Yeah, I think it might be their Wi-Fi.
Somebody please just hear me. Hear me, hear me.
It's you think it's our Wi-Fi? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah, totally. Yeah, sound really good. Oh, it's so good to hear you. Good to hear you, Jerry.
No, he's still.
Right. Hi, Nicole.
Maybe they're fielding questions about next week's raffle drawing.
Right, yeah, maybe. Is Governor Gutierrez ready?
He is, but his connection's kind of slow too. So
Okay.
I wonder if it might be like a network thing.
Let's go to John Fernandez.
Yeah, I was gonna
Okay, sorry, Gov. Jerry, if we're gonna figure out you guys' network connection. I'm not sure what the issue is there, but John Fernandez, DOE, maybe they need to go over to GDOE because
Yeah, why don't you go to DOE first?
Yeah. Thanks, Jerry. Stand by.
Okay.
GDOE got the fast internet. They got the good Wi-Fi. They got a good. Right, John?
The MiFis. No.
They got the MiFis. Maybe the GVB got to put in their app. There's a process. You put it in an app, and then DOE will give you a MiFi.
This is a hard line connection I've got here.
Mute him. Thank you. Hey, John, thanks for jumping on. Let's just get right into it, because I know you do your weekly update. So what is the update this week?
And we have a lot. We have a lot going on. So I think last time we talked, we were starting the graduation ceremonies, which mark the end of our most recent school year, and we just ended last Friday with the Geckos. So I want to congratulate again all the graduates 2021 for their hard work and successful, pretty smooth graduation ceremonies. But I have to say, I'm hoping that next year that we can go back to more traditional ceremonies. I'm realizing I'm missing out on all the, all the fun and games, seeing the classes together in their caps and gowns and, at the field house with all their decorations and just a traditional hoopla that goes around with the ceremonies. So past couple of classes, unfortunately, we've had to go to the grad and go, and I'm thankful for everyone for helping make that work. To the mayors, to the classes, to the teachers, staff, and administrators, helping us make that work. But again, hopefully next year we can go back to at least more traditional ceremonies, if possible. So looking forward to that. We did have, our one of our honorary graduates, Anna Tanana Masek, I guess is her last name.
Right, yeah.
87-year-old who received her diploma. And actually, Mayor Hoffman was really instrumental in making that happen this year because he told me that he had worked with Speaker Wonpat back in the day to authorize the honorary diplomas, but he was actually kind of inspired to do it by Tanana, and she never got her honorary diploma. So they had the law passed. We have about 20 honorary graduates, but she had not received hers. So we asked whether we could finally find a way to do that. And because of the timing of that request, we were able to do it as part of the Grad and Go ceremony this Friday. So when it's just a really awesome addition to our normal graduations. So that's one thing going on. Now we're shifting into summer school, and so we have summer school. Like I said, I think we're nearing 6,000 students enrolled, and so it's a good sign. But in addition to that, a couple of things I wanted to make sure to mention is that we announced and in partnership with the Department of Youth Affairs and with the support of the governor and lieutenant governor, a summer internship program for high school age students, whether you're public, private, or charter, for students for age 14 to 21 who want to get a job this summer. The application actually was announced last week, and the deadline's today by noon. And we know that there's been a lot of folks dropping off their applications at the DYA Cotton Resource Center, and those applications will be processed, and we will have those interns start. I believe it's next week. They'll be able to start at their agency. So I don't know if you participated or you remember this, but I know that back in our day,
right,
they had government of Guam internships where you could go and get a job at the court or some experience, and then that's when there was funding from the federal government to do summer programs.
It was AHRD, I believe.
AHRD was running it, and so forth, and then they just kind of went away. And when I came back to Guam and I was talking to the lieutenant governor, I said, remember those programs that they used to have, and really gave students an opportunity to kind of get to learn about the workplace and get an understanding of what it is they're kind of working towards. And, it doesn't exist anymore. So we discussed this about 2 years ago, but we never had a real chance to implement it at this scale. We have an internship at the DOE central offices, which we're kind of modeling it after. But because of the federal funding coming in and because of the importance of learning recovery, summer internships and opportunities for kids to come back out to learn. I mean, in this way is learning in the workplace. It totally fits with the purpose of the funding coming in. So it is one of the programs we were able to launch, and we're eager to see how it goes. Anyway, I just wanted to say that because I want to thank my partner Lonnie Brennan over at DYA. Yeah. And all the staff at DOE who are working with them today and this week to make it happen. And we look forward to welcoming, I believe we were targeting about 500 interns. I'm not sure where those numbers will end up, but I do know there was a line of cars waiting to drop off their applications at DYA this week. So that's the other part I wanted to mention. And then the third piece is I'm aware that I believe there might be close to 100 applications submitted to the governor, regarding community organizations interested in youth programs during the summer and also after school for the coming year. So we are working with the governor's office in taking a look and providing input into some of those applications. And these are from the mayors and nonprofit organizations and others who were looking to supplement what's happening at DOE to provide extra opportunities for kids to participate and in either after school or summer programs outside of the DOE traditional offerings. So I understand there's just a wide broad array of ideas that have been put forth, and these are from existing organizations and partners out there, but really taking the initiative to be creative about what other types of services and programs can be set up to help our students. You see things out on the STEM, on the STEM side of things. You see some art proposals.
Wow.
There are other, I think UOG and GCC have, put forth some ideas, as well as other organizations like Island Girl Power, Manette Lou, West Karen, some of the faces that you see out there who are already doing the work, asking them to expand and strengthen, those resources over the next 2 or 3 years. So exciting stuff.
Yeah. So I know you said you're working with the governor's office and reviewing these, is it plans that you're reviewing? So what's your role?
Really, there was a call for proposals. So they're really proposals that, with funding requests, right? It's almost like a sub-grant program.
I see, okay.
So the governor has funding on the education side. That's being made. I think it's with the $30 million that they have from the second round of CARES Act funding, and so they are looking to support DOE by providing the after-school and summer school, support from partners in the community. So I think it's great because DOE can't do it alone, and the teachers that we have, in the classroom during the day are going to be the same ones you have in the after-school program. If we're going to run those as well, having other organizations and having the mayors and other institutions partnering is really going to be something that I think we want to see, going forward beyond the next couple of years.
Right.
So if we can get experience doing it, if we can see what works, what's most effective, and what the community enjoys, doing and supporting, hopefully we can sustain these activities beyond the federal funds going away.
Right. Yeah, I hope so too, because these are programs, like you said, that we saw when we were younger. I remember doing a couple years of the HRD summer job program, and I think the kids need it moving forward from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, back then it was, learn how to answer the phone, learn how to get on, do some basic work on the computer maybe, and but now I'm sure it's going to be a lot of other things that need to be incorporated into the modern office environments.
Yeah.
We're working. I think we're doing an orientation with the governor, lieutenant governor for the agencies. I mean, just kind of a briefing for them on Friday, just to go over all the guidelines and so forth, and then we'll do an orientation for students when they begin as well.
John, the deadline to fill out the uniform policy survey is this week, right?
Yes, we're actually heading into a meeting with the board on Friday, a work session with the Safe and Healthy Schools Committee, just to go over what the most recent results are. But yes, there's been a discussion about uniform policy and whether or not uniforms should be the uniform policy should be enforced this coming year. So we're really waiting. We put a survey out to the students and then to the broader community to get their thoughts. And normally normally we would require uniforms, and then we would hope to address these concerns that you get from particular families at the school level. But because of the financial situation that was brought on by COVID-19, we waived that policy last year. And I think the board wants to determine whether it makes sense to waive it for another year. However, there were some concerns that were raised about just trying to make sure that the waiver wasn't abused, at the school level. And so I think it's just trying to get a sense of where the community is. We put that survey out, and we're looking forward to hearing the results from our staff tomorrow.
Right on, John. Anything else in closing that you want to share with us?
No, I just think, every time I get a chance to give you guys an update, I'm kind of going over, what it is that we've done and where we're headed. And, I think, where we are right now is we're pushing towards next school year. So everything we're doing here over the summer is really setting us up for next school year too. So, we've had a discussion about going back full, face-to-face 5 days a week. And I spoke, and I do have a meeting tomorrow with the governor, lieutenant governor as well. But we've spoken with the front office, and I believe we're on the same page. I mean, everyone's saying 5 days of instruction for the kids back face to face. But one of the key issues, of course, is vaccination. and we're trying to make sure we vaccinate as many employees and students, eligible students, as much as we can. And our target, of course, is 80%. So I think that we'll be able to do that on the school side. We were kind of close to 70% for the employees at the school side. So we'll continue to push for that. But on the student side, it looks like we're probably at, if we project 30 days from now, it looks like based on today's statistics or the latest statistics, we'll be at about 50% for the 16 to 19-year-olds and about 30% for the 12 to 15-year-olds. So we're really discussing, ways in which we can try to move those numbers even more towards that 80% by the time the school year starts. So that's going to be the big challenge ahead. But, with the vaccinations comes, I think, more flexibility that'll enable us to get everybody back to school without all the distancing issues and at least more flexibility on the distancing and so forth. So one of the issues I think we're going to be discussing, and I know it's going to be a tough issue to discuss, but we know that GRMC, issued a mandate for all of its employees to be vaccinated. I'm wanting to discuss with the governor and lieutenant governor the possibility of requiring students to be vaccinated, and whether or not that's something that is able to be done legally, and whether that's something that people would think would be a good, policy to implement just to promote safety in schools, but also to get our kids back to school safely and get them back into a regular routine. So I hope to, have that discussion with the governor, lieutenant governor tomorrow, see if that's an option for us, because we know that the CDC said that if you're fully vaccinated, the physical distancing and other requirements are going to be less critical once the vaccinations are 100%. So we'll stay tuned for that, and we look forward to community input and other ideas to really get our kids vaccinated and back to school.
Thanks for that. I was actually just going to ask you about mandating vaccines. Maybe we need to do like a separate vaccine win raffle where it's like, okay, if you're a GDOE student and you get your vaccination, go ahead and enter, and then you get no homework for a year if you win.
Or like that you maybe should count as service learning, right? It's a service. The service to your community. So what's.
I mean, if you think about it, you are performing a community service if you get vaccinated.
Right, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm open. So, but again, we do want our kids back 5 days a week. We're planning for 5 days a week. It's just a matter of making sure that all the agencies, everybody, the governor, everybody's in line to make it happen. And I think we have that commitment. Just we gotta, tie all those loose ends up and make sure that it is ready to go.
Well, there goes your summer.
Yeah, no, that's entirely it. Before I go though, let me just wish all the fathers a happy Father's Day this weekend, and been a hard year, hard couple of years being parents, but fathers, this is your time to celebrate. And then, like you said, for those of us who are just going to continue to, to work all the summer, just take the one day, and enjoy it. Enjoy family. And we look forward to, celebrating here on our side too.
Right on. Happy Father's Day, John.
Happy Father's Day, John, to you as well.
Thanks.
Okay, there you go. 8:40, quick break, and then we're gonna try Uncle Carl. Are we getting him yet?
No, we still got Wi-Fi issues from GVB, I guess.
Okay. It's 8:40. We're back with more of The Link next. Good morning.
Our World War II survivors have endured more sacrifice, suffering, fear, hope, and perseverance than we can ever imagine. Their stories have been passed down from generation to generation and have become a central part of the legacies and histories of our families. As we commemorate our 77th annual liberation, we invite you to share these stories and special memories as we present My Liberation Hero. During the month of July, KUAM will feature these tributes on KUAM News as well as on our digital platforms. We ask that you start your video or written submissions with the phrase, My Liberation Hero is. And please submit pictures of your heroes if you have them. Send your emails to liberation@kuam.com. And let's give everyone a chance to reflect and remember these special times and people in our history. Happy 77th Liberation Day, Guam.
Brought to you by Coast 360 Federal Credit Union, Ordot Dental Clinic, and Vince Jewelers. Uno Go, delivering meals from your favorite restaurants and more, including delivering sodas and adult beverages from the Bottle Shack. Visit uno-go.com or download the app today. Also follow them on Instagram and Facebook.
June makes the best malasadas in Hawaii, a fact not lost on Daryl, whose brother Byron is cooking the onaga he caught at a secret fishing spot with his girlfriend Malia, who used to work for the Shave Ice Guy, whose second cousin Vince drives the school bus ridden by Calais, whose auntie makes the best malasadas in Hawaii. Everything here is connected, and with the new First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, you can stay just as connected to your finances, and it all starts with yes.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by the Bank of Guam and KFC.
At the Guam Visitors Bureau's technical department, my good buddy AJ Rosario's got GVB flying right now as far as the Wi-Fi goes. So we have Vice President Jerry Perez, Dr. Jerry Perez, pardon me, in the KUM News Zoom room. So, Mr. Perez, buenas, good afternoon. Good morning, I should say.
Hi.
All right, there we go. Jerry, let's just get right into it as we're getting kind of backed up here. The Airbnb vaccine program rollout holdup. We're just not sure. We were trying to get some answers from Public Health yesterday as we heard that GVB was waiting on Public Health, and then Public Health said, oh, no, we're not so what is the holdup with the protocols for standing up this program? Because Lord knows we've got all the fanfare. People have been waiting.
Well, Chris, here's what we know as of today. The GVB, in cooperation with the GHRA folks, have put together basically a menu of tour packages that includes the vacation vaccine program. Not just one vaccine, but Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson, and those are the three primary ones, right? That's the first thing. And then GHRA and GVB have put together these packages that follows pretty much the current protocols on the vaccines and the process of getting, without quarantine on arrival of Guam, and also acknowledging that they can be tested before they return, so that they can also comply with their country's protocols. So some kind of a reciprocal arrangement in that regard. But we're hesitant to, it's ready to roll out, but the last piece of this needs to be reviewed by Public Health, because the last thing we want to do is roll out a program, and if Public Health changes the protocol in midstream, as sometimes happens based on circumstances, it would totally nullify, the package that we've put together. And so we wanted to be absolutely sure of Public Health approval for these protocols before we roll it out and people start, buying into it.
Yeah, so how do we kind of nail down Public Health and back them into the corner and say, hey, we need this, we need it now, and we need it to stay fixed for the sake of tourism?
Yeah, we're still working it with Public Health, and the governor's been very involved in pushing this so that we can get it going. So that's all I can tell you at this time.
Okay. So that marketing plan again, so I'm guessing, Jerry, from what you said, that it's like you're going to market this vaccine package to, for example, AstraZeneca, maybe to the Korean market, right?
Yeah. Now that's a subset of what we're trying to do. The focus of the discussion that I was referring to you earlier was vaccination for expats, right?
Yeah.
Now what we're talking about is really opening it up to our visitor market because of the acceptance of AstraZeneca. And we're very, very happy that the governor has approved and the Surgeon Cell have approved the use of AstraZeneca, because that is a large piece of that's a large vaccine being used in Korea right now. So what we need to pin down now, and we're working it as we speak, is if they get AstraZeneca, when they come to Guam, they will go through a certain protocol process that would be reciprocal on return, so that when they go back to Korea, they won't have to go through an onerous, process. And part of that program is to be able to give them a vaccination here before they depart for Korea, for example.
Right. What about Japan? So I was just reading this morning that the vaccination rollout in Japan a little slow. So how?
Yeah, Japan is a little bit different. Two issues in Japan. The first issue is you're quite right. They are really slow in their vaccination, but their focus really is the Olympics, and their focus is getting enough vaccines to the people involved in the games, and that's a detraction from the tourism market that we're trying to push. The second to that is that they are very strict still on their protocol. It doesn't matter whether you're vaccinated or not, you still, at the current policy, need to go through a 2-week quarantine in Japan. And so that's a big obstacle.
Jerry, what about the CNMI? We had the governor's spokesman, Kevin Bautista, on the other day, and he was talking about a familiarization tour of Korean government officials that are headed to the NMI as part of the effort to kind of reopen that source market. Are we looking at or trying to piggyback on this effort or duplicate it in any way?
Well, I'm not sure about the piggybacking part, but I do know that they have rolled out a number of incentives to stimulate that business, as we are as well contemplating on our own. And so we're just looking at the different possible incentives. Here's the issue. Japan, Korea, for the most part, have been generating domestic tourism so that their tourism business doesn't die on the vine, right? A lot of the incentives that Japan and Korea use to stimulate their domestic tourism are some of the same incentives that we are looking at on Guam, because by extension, if you look at Guam's geographic proximity, we can really be a part of that domestic regime, which makes the kind of incentives that they're employing in Japan now perhaps relevant to us here in Guam as well. And that's what we're looking at today.
Right on. So they've got the one incentive I wanted to ask about specifically, and I also think I saw it on you guys' drawing board, was this: give the tourists money to spend when they come.
Yeah, there are a number of issues, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves at this point, Chris, because there are different kinds of incentives that relate to spending money to tourists, spending money for the suppliers, airline incentives. I mean, there's a plethora of opportunities for us to really look at, and it's just a question of, number one, whether we can afford it, number two, whether it's sustainable, and number three, whether it's really good value for money that we put into the program. So that's kind of what we're talking about today.
Well, that's good to know. Jerry, I think that's about it. Is there anything in closing that you wanted to kind of add?
No, the only thing I would say is that we really are encouraged by the continued push for vaccinating the island. I understand that we have about close to 60% or roughly 60% fully vaccinated, and at least 80% plus that have at least the first vaccine. So we're on the right track, and I think I would just like to encourage people to continue participating in this program so that we can really get back to as normal a business as we can.
Right on. Jerry, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Talk to you later.
Keep us posted. There you go. Jerry Perez, the vice president of the Guam Visitors Bureau. They're working on it. Okay. In other words, they're working on the Airbnb. Of course, the initial effort with that air vacation and vaccination thing, which was coined by former Governor Carl Gutierrez. He's been coming up with pretty cool little slogans.
And like Dr. Perez was saying, like this all kind of is contingent, and this is the thing that I was asking the governor, former Governor Gutierrez, a couple weeks ago. Was I said, you're someone who's used to doing strategy. The typical way was, you have a series of meetings and you come up with a plan and then you execute the plan. And the thing that's been so hard in the last year and a half is, you come up with a plan and then the next day the CDC says something or public health says something, and it constantly changes. And as Dr. Perez just said, we've got our strategy. We're just waiting for public health to sign off on it because we don't want to start and roll something that's got a lot of moving parts and a lot of balls in the air and get this thing rolling and then, have it go sideways.
Think of it like this, our friend Lonnie with this adult daycare that she was going to open. They had all the green lights. Then the day of the opening, they're told they can't open because of some type of awaiting a new guidance. So, yeah, we definitely don't want to see a repeat of that for this Airbnb program. But what it sounds like there, and I mean, well, it is what it is, actually, because Jerry said it, is they're starting with the expat effort with the Airbnb, and then they want to also unfold and offer it to the different source markets and kind of tailor it, like he had said, okay, AstraZeneca, it's more of the Asian countries, so we got a package with AstraZeneca. Those people who want the American vaccine can get the Pfizer, Moderna, the J&J, and then they'll have like a tour package for that kind of thing too. Let's head to the KUAM News Zoom room where we have from the FSM consulate, Teresa Philippin standing by. I believe she's going to be joining us from the Guam International Airport, where she is currently seeing off. Good morning, Teresa.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
And so we're there to wish farewell to a repatriation flight. Which is this, the third or the second?
This is the second on United and third our repatriation altogether.
What's the feeling there, Teresa, with some of the passengers who are headed back to the homeland?
A lot of excitement. You know how it is. They've been waiting to get home for over a year. So really excited. The 7 more days in quarantine in Pohnpei is nothing compared to the year and a half and some that they've been, waiting abroad to get home.
Right. Teresa, how many passengers on this flight to Pohnpei?
We have 51 passengers to Pohnpei.
Anybody there want to talk to us?
Right now, they're in the process of boarding. But let me see. I have my friend coming up right now.
Oh,
so.
nice.
Yeah.
This is Teresa Philippin, of course, from the FSM consulate. She's there at the airport seeing off this repatriation flight. Go ahead.
You want to say something to KUAM? Homer. Yeah. This is Miss Barnett. Say your name.
Hey, good morning.
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning.
What's your name?
Hi. Jessica. Yeah. How excited are you to get home? I'm really excited and nervous at the same time.
How long have you been? Hi. How long have you been waiting to get back? How long have you been waiting to get back home?
How long have you been waiting to get back home? A year, I think.
Well, good luck.
I think.
Good luck. We're so happy for you. Right there you go. Okay, bye. Hi, bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Take care. Safe flight.
Teresa, I know you guys work so hard on standing up this program, and I mean it's pretty intricate, right? You have the pre-quarantine, and then you have a post-quarantine on arrival.
There's so many details. so many details and so many organizations and people that are involved in this whole effort. And I'm just grateful for all the assistance that the government of Guam and United Airlines have been providing. I mean, Department of Public Works with the transportation, Department of Public Health with COVID testing, and airport police, with escorting and making sure that the passengers gets to their gate with as minimal interaction with other airport traffic. So it's just been awesome, and we work like around the clock to make sure that its flight goes as smoothly and as safely as possible.
Yeah, and Teresa, were there any little hiccups in the first flight that you guys have kind of worked out by now?
Oh yes. This is the first for everybody. So we were able, after the first flight, we were able to sit down with the people involved, and we worked out the details on how to improve on this second one. So, and this second one just went as smoothly as expected. We were well ahead of time, no rushing or anything like that. We're just, I think it's very successful. I can say that.
Right. And then, so are you already working on the next flight?
Yes, we've already identified the passengers for the next flight, which is on June 26th. And we're going to be putting them into quarantine this coming Saturday, June 19, for their 7 days required quarantine here on Guam before entering the FSM.
How many of the people on the flight were flown to Guam to do the quarantine before getting on the plane?
For this one, I don't have the numbers on me right now, but I believe a little bit over 20 were flown into Guam to catch this June 17 flight.
Wow. And how do you get the word out about that? Is it just through the consulate's office?
Through the consulate's office, and people that have been stranded abroad have been communicating to the office and the FSM National Task Force. So we have a registry that we've been keeping since the beginning of the pandemic. So whenever we have a flight ready or a planned flight, we start communicating with those people. And then that's how our lists are finalized.
Teresa, can we get an update on vaccination efforts within the FSM and its respective states?
Chris, unfortunately, I've been concentrating on so much on our folks here on Guam that I haven't been paying attention to what's going on in the FSM.
Well, first things first.
Yeah. Regrettably, I don't have that number right now, but I
is
can
it
always
ongoing?
get the number. And
Yeah. Is it ongoing?
It's still ongoing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still ongoing.
And then I got to asking for a friend who's really itchy to get out of Guam and go visit some of the other islands. How soon are we going to be discussing the protocols for fully vaccinated people who want to go into the FSM who aren't part of the repatriation effort?
Not in the next 6 months, Chris. I can safely say that. As you're aware, this repatriation right now is only happening for the state of Pohnpei. The other 3 states of the FSM are not quite ready as far as bringing in people. So it may take a little while longer than we'd like for the borders to open for everybody that wants to visit the nation, the FSM.
So all the repatriation flights are for Pohnpei only now. Do you know
right now
what the next state is going to be?
The next state?
Yeah.
Or the next state?
Would the next state in the FSM who's going to get the repatriation flights be? Is it going to be Chuuk?
I'm hearing Yap State is gearing up right now, and they're exploring the month of July, but not no definitive plans at this time. And that goes for the other 2 states as well, the Chuuk and Koshrai. Like I said, everybody is prepping up. They're building their isolation facilities in case an unfortunate case is brought in, and medical and personnel and everybody, the state task force are gearing up for for opening repatriation flights at this time.
Teresa, how about the vaccination effort? I know there have been various outreaches in conjunction with your office and public health here on Guam to kind of make those inroads. And I believe they just got a grant for $6 million on the public health side that would allow them to conduct testing. And I believe
More.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how's that effort going?
It's been going pretty well. In fact, not just with public health, American Medical Center as well. And we've had a steady schedule with American Medical Center. Doing outreach. In fact, there's another one this weekend on the 19th at the GOZM, and we're encouraging people that haven't been vaccinated to go get vaccinated. And we saw the news yesterday. There's big prizes for getting vaccinated right now. I think that's a very good promo. But so the encouragement, awareness is out there, telling people to go get vaccinated. That's the only way that we can, like I've been saying, that's the only way we can get back to some sense of normalcy in this whole thing.
Right on, Teresa. I know that you probably got to get going to go wish everyone.
Yes, I do.
I thank you for your time. I know you're so busy. Really grateful that you
It's
jumped
always
in.
nice to talk to you, Chris. All
Thank you,
right.
Teresa.
Take care.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye. Okay, there you go, Teresa Philippin, the FSM consulate, one of the busiest ladies.
I like that one passenger's like thing, and she's like, oh, okay, Matt. She's been waiting a year to get home. She's like, okay, thanks, KUAM. I gotta go, man. I'm not missing this opportunity.
I'm like, one more hoop you're gonna jump through before you get on that plane. Come and say hi to us.
But you know what? 51 people have really been through an emotional ringer.
Right.
What place can you feel more safe than home, right?
Yeah.
And they're finally getting that opportunity. So congratulations to them. Hopefully all the work and all the stress and all the heartache they've had to go through, they're not gonna have to deal with that anymore.
This is something that we've been tracking. In real time, right? As a member, we had a panel of residents from the FSM who are stranded outside of the FSM, and it was emotional. Remember, Jay? Tears were shed right here on this show. Relative to that issue, and it kind of seems like I know it was always in the works, but like Teresa Philippin said, there were just a ton of moving parts with this and having to involve. They had to get public health involved with the vaccination, the pre-quarantine here. They had to stand up quarantine facilities in the FSM. So yeah, it was pretty logistically required a lot of effort. And it kind of seems like after we had that interview, I know it was already in place and being worked on, but that they really, coincidence or not, just ramped up these repatriation
Yeah,
flights.
and we talked to so many people about that. They all had the same thing to say, and like you said, and through tears and through emotion, and the people of all different ages and backgrounds, and coming from all different places, they just looked directly into camera, like on Zoom, and they said, "I just want to go home."
Yeah.
They all said the same thing. So.
Yep. Let me go home.
Yeah.
Let me go.
And you know what? Kudos to Teresa and her staff, because I know
Yeah.
that she's really been working on this, and
I like her. Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah.
And she's actually, I asked her, "Are you getting on that plane?" And she was like, "Man, not yet. Hopefully the next one," because she's still got a lot of work to do. We had some comments here on the Facebook Live feed. Good morning again to our KUAM viewers. What do we have here? Tricia Santos Baker comments, will there be a ceremony for summer school graduates? I believe it's probably going to be one of those grad and go. Eric J. Cruz, we were talking with John Fernandez about, this is kind of a throwback for a lot of you guys. Maybe not even, might have to Google it for some of our younger viewers, but the AHRD summer job program, were you in that?
I remember. I wasn't in it, but I remember I had several friends who did.
Yeah, so Eric J. Cruz comments in here, AHRD, I remember participating in that program. I ended up working in the GPD crime lab. That was an amazing experience. I was able to learn how they process their cases. Minimum wage at the time, wait for it, $4.50 an hour.
I remember that.
Verna Mendiola comments in, I worked under AHRD for 3 summers. It was a great experience. I was able to work with the Navy Exchange Procurement Department. Wow. They were some of the best people to work with. I'm still in contact with some of them after all these years. And what did she put? Getting a paycheck and a job experience was a winning combination. I encourage our teenagers to apply. That's right. And they're looking to fill 500 positions for this, and it's I think $400 a week. So guys, if you haven't already, I believe one of the deadlines we heard was tomorrow, and you could drop completed applications off at the DYA Cotton Service Center in Manila.
Yep. Okay, real quick update. Sabrina just private messaged me. She's gonna wring my neck for saying this. She said, "Oops, I dropped my earphones in my coffee."
Oh, nice. You know what?
And then she used a few choice words, which I won't dare repeat here.
You know what?
Can imagine.
Stick it in the dryer.
I don't think. You know that there's that one trick that does.
Let me
work.
tell you a story. So
if you ever drop your iPhone in something like that, stick it in rice.
That's
that
false.
really does work.
It's false.
No, that I've done that.
I
before.
googled it. It said it's a lie.
No, it draws the moisture out.
That's what you think. Google it when you got time.
No, remember Nick Delgado?
Man, dude, I bought this really nice thumb drive, but it was like one of those thumb drives that holds a lot of stuff for a thumb drive, and I ended up. My lady washed it, dried it, and I was like, "Hey, you left this in your pocket." And then so I was like, "Okay, put it in my pocket." But then we went to the beach that day, and I ended up repeating the whole thing over again. But guess what? It still works. So Sabrina, stick your headphones in the dryer. Just put a little fabric softener sheet in there, freshen it up a little bit, right? It's 9:06, guys. We're going to take a quick break, and we're coming back with Gary Hiles, the chief economist for the Department of Labor. We're going to talk about, among other things, $15 minimum wage. Not here. This is a Biden thing. Yeah, I don't know. The big Joser got excited there. Dude, a $15 minimum wage, guess what? Burger King, here I come. Guaranteed. It's 9:08. Break Nonza. We're back with more of The Link next. Good morning.
After a year with so many games and events delayed or unplayed, the world is ready for anything and everything in the world of sports. KUAM Communications is ready with more games, more championships, and more specials that are guaranteed to bring out the fan in you. Don't miss a minute of gameplay from NBC on KUAM TV 8 or from CBS on KUAM TV 11. Every month, we'll bring you the action and excitement. Brought to you locally by Michelob Ultra, Superior Light Beer, Marianas Irrigation and Landscape, and Docomo Pacific. Just more great reasons to tune in and turn on so you'll fall in love with TV again with the best from KUAM Communications.
Catch SportsLink on the KUAM News Morning Show, The Link, every Friday to hear about the latest in sports news, game schedules, athlete profiles, and more. SportsLink, brought to you each week by Cure Alkaline Water and Marianas Irrigation and Landscape, airs every Friday across the multimedia platforms of KUAM. Tune into the broadcast on Breeze 93.9 FM on KUAM TV 11, live streaming through the KUAM News Facebook page, or view highlights on YouTube, KUAM News Facebook, and Instagram. SportsLink is hosted by Dave Delgado through KUAM Sports, and he will make sure that everyone knows what is happening on the fields, in the gyms, and everywhere in between.
Make sure you're connected. The writing's on the wall. 'Cause if your mind's neglected, stumble you might fall,
Connection is a human necessity, one we need today more than ever. And with the new First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, you can stay just as connected to your finances. And it all starts with yes.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
At any given moment, anyone can get infected with COVID. We've heard it many times over that it doesn't discriminate, that we're fighting an invisible enemy, we're all on the front lines, and I take that to heart. I wanted to do my part, not just for the community, but also for my family. I couldn't bear the thought of bringing COVID home and infecting my son. I also wanted to travel, be able to see my parents and my brothers who I haven't seen in over a year. Now I get it, we all have to make a choice, so whatever you decide, weigh the risks and do what you feel is right. I'm Sabrina Salas Matanani, and I am a proud member of the vaccination. Join the vaccination. Scan and plan. For more information, go to KUAM.com.
Brought to you by American Medical Center, your partner in healthcare.
Our World War II survivors have endured more sacrifice, suffering, fear, hope, and perseverance than we can ever imagine. Their stories have been passed down from generation to generation and have become a central part of the legacies and histories of our families. As we commemorate our 77th annual liberation, we invite you to share these stories and special memories as we present My Liberation Hero. During the month of July, KUAM will feature these tributes on KUAM News as well as on our digital platforms. We ask that you start your video or written submissions with the phrase, My Liberation Hero is. And please submit pictures of your heroes if you have them. Send your emails to liberation@kuam.com. And let's give everyone a chance to reflect and remember these special times and people in our history. Happy 77th Liberation Day, Guam.
Brought to you by Coast 360 Federal Credit Union, Ordot Dental Clinic, and Vince Jewelers.
Looking for TV schedules, upcoming sports, or special presentations, or what you may have missed over the busy week you had? Well, look no further than KOAM Digital Digest. This weekly emailed newsletter puts all kinds of information in the hands of subscribers each and every week. Just subscribe and we will make sure you keep up with your favorites and stay informed and entertained throughout it all. Go to KOAM.com, click on the newsletter tab, give us your email address, and you are all set. Brought to you in digital partnership with King's Restaurant and Ruby Tuesday Guam. It's the KOAM Digital Digest, your weekly guide to the latest information and best entertainment on the stations and platforms of KUAM.
Listen, watch, and learn from the daily Chamorro News updates from KUAM News. Catch them on The Link during the 8 o'clock hour, streaming online on Isla Radio, or on the KUAM News YouTube channel for your convenience. Tune in and stay informed, all while preserving our precious culture through the daily use of our native Chamorro language. Chamorro News updates are brought to you by your familia at First Hawaiian Bank.
My buddy Elway. It's called Keimer. I believe it's his son's name. You know what's pretty cool is whenever I think about Palau or Palau music, I always think about how Palau is independent, right? And then we're also celebrating Philippine independence. And the 4th of July is right around the corner. But my buddies at Independent Guahan, I just want to thank them for partnering with the stations at KUAM again for their Natlalac Songs of Freedom concert. Man, it's going to be a great one. My daughter's working on it. My daughter Samantha putting it together with Tadug Marianas. And I've seen some of the clips. It's going to be awesome. Of course, we'll get all the info on it. When it'll be airing, how you can check it out. Good morning. It's 9:15. On The Link, brought to you by Pacific Point, IT&E, Calvo Enterprises, and our friends at Jack in the Box. Let's do a reading from the Book of Jack, shall we? Please open your book to the Book of Jack. Thank you. All right. The triple bonus Jack, guys. You want to grab that? It's a returning favorite. It's a lot of meat. You guys like meat, right? I heard you like meat. It's the triple bonus Jack combo. Everything you need to indulge. Add a patty, make it a fatty. A quad, sir. You got to put it in sideways. That's how much meat it is, right? Yeah. Thank you, Jack in the Box. Love you. It's 9:15. Good morning. Just wanted to touch a little bit on this Port Authority thing. Where remember that Senator Tiliana Nelson, who's the port oversight, had an oversight hearing I want to say at the beginning of the month or beginning of the year. It's been a minute. So anyway, they were saying because the former DOC prison guard, Frankie Roslin, was hired at the port, and I think there were a couple other hires. So they wanted to do an audit of all the hiring, those with like criminal convictions or something at the port. But I remember the time they hired Mr. Roslin, the AG had come out with an opinion saying that, yeah, it was legal, right? And so I guess this post-audit, I'm still combing through it, but the Port Authority came out with a release, and they basically said, like, Senator Tolino was wrong. Yeah, and so the post-audit basically said that everything was on the up and up, right? Which I don't think was the question. I don't think anyone was saying hiring Mr. Roslin, who also happens to be Lieutenant Governor's brother-in-law, by the way, was illegal. I just think people thought it was unethical. That was the issue. So that's that. There was a couple of releases that came out from, well, Senator Talina Cruz Nelson, her release, Civil Service Commission deliberates on ports hiring practices. We read this quote earlier. I respect the decision of the CSC and I thank them for their due diligence on this matter. Our port employees have worked tirelessly throughout the years and during the pandemic. I'm confident that they will continue their commitment to service by upholding the highest standard for the people of Guam. And then Senator Joanne Brown, who herself is a former port GM, kind of a different take. Senator Brown, port hiring practices lowered. CSC audit relied heavily on the disclosure of information by the employee on the assumption that the PAG had responsibly executed its due diligence. The audit relied heavily on the disclosure of information that the PAG, and the assumption that the PAG had responsibly executed its due diligence of criminal background checks, both locally and federally, of every employee. Everyone deserves a second chance to better their lives and be contributing members to the community. However, the rehabilitation of convicted felons, sex offenders, and individuals charged with official misconduct shouldn't be at the expense of ratepayers and taxpayers. More importantly, these individuals shouldn't be rewarded with employment in the government of Guam. And that's kind of what how do you balance, right? Because that was their whole argument when they hired Mr. Roslin, was they said, oh, we can't just throw, the Lieutenant Governor was on this show. It was actually one of the last times he came on here. But he was like, oh, we can't just throw people away. Oh, no one was saying that. I'm just saying, like, dude, if you're a drug-dealing prison guard, you shouldn't get moved to the front of the line. I mean, that's kind of basic, right? I don't know. Guys, am I out on a limb with this or what? Because it just seems common sense. But we'll see. I mean, there's no resolution. The questionable hires that have been made down at the port might be questionable to me and you, but other people think they're okay. So it is what it is. And at the end of the day, guess what? They're in. They did it. They're hired. They're working there. They're done with their probation, guys. So it's done. They won. CSC said it's cool. Senator Talina loves it. So there you go. Just saying, I don't know. Yeah, I've really just doesn't send a good message to me. That's all it is. There's the nepotism thing. It's who you know. What everybody knows. That's exactly what it is, right? Any other prison guard down there who was in that DOC scandal? Were they hired anywhere? I don't think so. But I made a joke on my Instagram, but I was like, well, maybe now that they've got this validation from the CSC, they're going to start hiring. All you prison guards, go apply down at the port where mysteriously no drugs ever get intercepted. I'm just scratching my head. Anyway, 9:20. Let's switch gears now and head over to the KUAM News Zoom room. Where we have the chief economist for the Territorial Guam, Gary Hiles. Thanks for joining us, Gary. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Chris.
I'm in over my head with the economy. It's not one of my strong points, which is why I reached out to Nestor for some great questions. And I did send you those, so we'll just kind of run through these, and then if I have something, I have something. But we'll just start with what is the unemployment rate? Do you have that stat for us? And how current is it?
Yes, it's on our website. It dropped in the recent quarter to March. I believe it's about 16, a little bit of about 16%.
And obviously, some context. How does that compare to the previous periods?
The previous period, the high was 19.4% in December, so it's dropped a little bit. And also during that time, that's from the household survey. We have a survey of employers, and in the latest 2 quarters, the employment numbers have increased somewhat, primarily in construction, but also some of the resumption with the reopening in services and hotels. And not only has the number of employees increased, but the number of hours worked have increased somewhat. So the first step when employers are getting busier is they'll increase the hours before they bring back people.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting, Gary, because just anecdotally, I was talking with the manager at a restaurant, and we're hearing this a lot. I don't know if if this is a conversation that you've been privy to as well, but some of these businesses are out here saying that they can't get warm bodies to hire because everyone's on the PUA. So this restaurant manager I was talking to was telling me that she's like, yeah, we can't find anybody. So what ends up happening is the staff that we do have ends up racking up all this overtime because they don't have, they can't hire any, or people aren't applying for jobs. So all the unemployment's down. What kind of jobs were people getting?
The most is in construction, but also some hotel employment went up a little bit, and retail.
Nice. So those service kind of entry level type jobs,
and as well as construction. One thing about the people on PUA that's mentioned a lot, but from 1/3 to 1/2 of the people on PUA actually are employed, but their hours have been cut. So the fact is that they're still retaining their relation to the employer, and as the employer needs additional work, they can just work more. But they're eligible for the PUA because their hours are so low. So I think the comment that employers can't hire workers, I think the environment is a little different. Certainly there's some truth to that. But there's also something called intensity of recruitment. In prior times, you might have had a line of people at your personnel office and a file of applications of people ready to go. But if you're having a difficult time recruiting people, running advertisements and job fairs is just like if your business is slow, you need to advertise and put it out there why the employee should look to you, because people may not know that's a job available.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder, Gary. That what did you say? 1/3 or 1/2 of the people on PUA are on it because their hours have been reduced.
That's right. Their hours are reduced and their pay is low enough to meet the income threshold to qualify.
Wow, that's interesting. What is the difference? Let's say for someone who lost their job and they haven't been able to go back, or it hasn't, so they're just fully on it. What is the comparison? Like, how much does someone on PUA for like a full year, the full PUA? How much do they make, and how does it compare to, let's say, some of these jobs that are available?
Well, right now the PUA payment is $345 a week plus $300 for the additional amount. So that would typically be above what a entry level or minimum wage worker would make, but not necessarily what someone else would. Some people would make more than that.
Is that a rotary dial phone?
Yeah. I'm reading your questions.
Right. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. So now we're on what's the latest of the federal minimum wage increases? We heard from President Biden he supports raising it to $15 an hour.
What I understand is that's not likely to go through Congress at this time.
Oh, you don't say.
It wouldn't surprise me that as the economy recovers in a year or two, that there's some compromise. And historically, over time, minimum wages have increased somewhat. But I would think it'd probably be at a much lower amount
Right.
to get a compromise.
I saw a stat on the federal minimum wage increase. When was the last time it was increased?
It's been a couple of years,
Right. I think
several years.
It's been several, right? I think 2013, I believe, was the stat I saw. So
We have a poster on my wall. But I don't
right,
have
yeah. Gary, so if we do, I mean, if obviously the read is that it's not going to be $15 an hour, but whatever it does jump to, will it result in the wage compression? I mean, because that's always the argument, right? Is, when they start getting paid more, then we got to pay everyone else more. And when that happens, if it does, how will Guam fare?
Well, Guam is, like the United States, gone through a number of minimum wage increases, and it hasn't seemed to affect the overall employment. But you're correct. There is some wage compression that people above the minimum wage, if they were like the supervisor, just a dollar above the minimum wage, and the minimum wage goes up, then they're not making more than the rank and file. So normally they would get somewhat of an adjustment, but not as much as the increase in the minimum wage. And as you go up the ranks, there would be some adjustment, but smaller as you go up. So we've been through those minimum wage increases before, and that's what happens. It overall results in a small percentage increase in the total labor costs, but not a drastic.
Let me ask you about the local minimum.
Far lower than the percent in the minimum wage.
Ask about the local minimum wage, right? So the senators had a bill, delay it 6 months, governor signed it into law. Have businesses and, in your opinion, the economy, because it kind of seems like things are doing good, have they reached a point where they could afford to pay that minimum wage increase, or was it the right call at the time?
That's a compromise. Some businesses could, and some businesses would have a difficult time. The difficulty with most businesses is not the hourly wage they have to pay, but the lack of customers, especially in the tourism industry. So if they don't have any customers, then it doesn't really matter what the wage level is. They aren't able to afford any labor and don't need it. So that's really the biggest issue, to get the customers back, so that the wage is a smaller component of the whole issue. The primary issue is having the revenue going to the businesses. And that's another plug for the PUA, because all of the people that are receiving PUA are low enough income to have the income threshold, and so they go out and spend the money in the community to pay their rent, buy groceries, go to restaurants, pay their utility bills, and so on. So that creates jobs and employment for other people as well, not only the people that are receiving the PUA.
Can I ask, Gary, just from, as an economist perspective, we're lifting the moratorium on evictions fully on July 1st. In your opinion, has the economy rebounded enough to do that? And do you anticipate that there are still people out there who just quite simply can't make ends meet or pay the rent?
At this time, the anecdotal experience has been with the PUA for those that have lost their jobs that are low income. That's covered most of it, as well as the stimulus checks. So people have been able to catch up on their rent. I talked to people in real estate. There's a few people that are behind, but not a very large percentage. However, I'm very concerned when the PUA program runs out, that people that don't have a job and that used to have a job and are structured to have payments like rent and so on, that could be a very serious problem.
Very serious problem is almost an understatement, right?
I think so.
So Gary, the conversations we've been having here on the link with, Dave is one of them, with the senators, with some of the university, GCC people, is they're standing up these different training and work placement programs My question is, in your opinion, do you think that we have enough time to stand these programs up and get people in and out of them before the pool runs out in September?
Well, I think it's a great time. Always, it's good to do training, and it's some of them will, because jobs in the tourism industry, I think, will start trickling back, but they won't be immediate. So a lot of people will still be out of work. So getting training at that time is great for employees. It's also and good for employers to help build up the skill levels. So when things do resume, you have a more trained workforce. And also, it takes advantage of the federal funds. So that's another way to absent unemployment for people to have some income support.
You know, we had Dave Delasola on the other day, and he likened the ending of the PUA to driving off a cliff. So let me ask you, what's at the bottom of that cliff?
I think there's going to be a variety of responses. One of them is people will be forced to make difficult decisions, and some people may move in with relatives and maybe squeezing the house very tight. And other people, I've already heard anecdotally that several people have moved off island to find jobs in the States. So I think that's also a concern for me, for individuals that may be forced to move when they didn't really want to leave Guam, and to seek employment elsewhere because they need a job to survive. But it's also, I think, going to create a very difficult situation for employers, because if employers are having a difficult time getting employees now, if after the PUA ends, if there's a significant outmigration, as there was after 9/11, then when the tourism rebounds and you all of a sudden need a lot of employees, they may not be there anymore. So I think the PUA program has been, as it was intended, along with the SBA loans to Payroll Protection Act to employers, is to kind of bridge the gap. So when the tourists do come back and the jobs come back, the labor force is there ready to go. If it's purged, then when the businesses are ready to reopen, that's going to be also a huge problem, especially some of the skilled workers that are able to relocate.
Right. Yeah, let's talk about that brain drain, right? And so there are efforts, at least with the spending plan that the senators submitted to the governor. I think there might also be a bill from Senator Taitigui in the works, but a lot of these professional technical fields, right? The senators wanted to allocate, I think, over $10 million to various scholarship programs, though, among them the University of Guam, the ProTech Scholarship Program, which is supposed to assist, medical, technical, and professional students seeking education off island with tuition, offset their tuition costs. So, and in exchange for that, they end up coming back to Guam and working here and bringing all their knowledge and their expertise that they learned elsewhere back home, right? So when we talk about people who have had to leave and go to the States, and I mean skilled workers as well, how crucial do you think those programs are, and how crucial is it to kind of boost the funding support for them to kind of mitigate the brain drain that's happening right now and it is likely to happen in the very near future?
I think that'll be helpful, and that'll play a niche role. It's not going to be the largest part of it. And when the economies are changing, I think you're going to see a little bit of migration both ways. There's probably some people that are from Guam in the States that lost their job, and they may do the thing that a lot of young people do, is go back to live at mom and dad's house. And so you probably will have some people returning to Guam because they've lost their job in the States, but you'll probably also see, since the unemployment rate is much lower in the States, you're going to see a lot more migration from Guam to the U.S.
I want to talk about the spending, right? I mean, just in looking outside, and again, this is not even scientific in any way, shape, or form, but I think even Jason would agree. It kind of seems like people are spending money out here. Like, and I mean, like spending money at shopping, and you look around, people are eating out. So I guess just knowing that, and you probably see it yourself too. What type of spending are we seeing in the economy, and what type of activity, and how helpful is it to kind of get us to where we need to go?
I kind of look at the economy as there's two components: the tourist economy, which is essentially shut down, and the rest of the economy. The rest of the economy is doing pretty well because of the combination of the PUA that's replacing individuals and lost wages, along with the stimulus checks. But that's going to be short-lived as those stimulus funds get spent. There's also some pent-up demand where people were stuck in their house for a couple of months and didn't spend any money, and so now they're eager and to go out and go to restaurants and travel and do some things. So we're seeing some of that as well. But a lot of businesses in Tumon Bay are almost exclusively catering to tourists, but there's a lot of restaurants and so on that have a mixed clientele. So they have their local clientele, but not their tourists. And there's still some hesitancy due to the public health emergency for some people to go out and eat at restaurants and things. And also a concern about the future. If there's uncertainty about PUA running out, people are not spending all of the money, which is it has a pro and a con. The con is that the economy is not getting stimulated as much as you would expect from that amount of money being circulated, and the government is not collecting as much tax revenues. Businesses are not getting the revenues. But the upside is that people are saving, and then later on, when they're have no income, they're still able to hold out and pay their bills for a while.
Gary, I wanted to talk a little bit about how you had said that there people were pent up demand. Just, and this is anecdotal as well. God, we sent anecdotal like 50 times in this interview. But we were working through the whole pandemic, and when we were here, we noticed that, and because we also did some stories on the backlog of the post office, that people were really buying a whole lot of stuff online, right? And just hearing from people who work at the post office, it's kind of tapered down, right? A lot of the online ordering. But you hear that argument that, we're just funneling all this money off island. Is that something as an economist that you agree with, or is it a minuscule impact?
Well, first of all, the online has grown, and I think the pandemic, the fact that people were forced to go online, myself, for example, things that I couldn't get here during the pandemic. Once you find a store in the States and then you get used to ordering online, that process, I think, is going to be a permanent continuation and increase. As a percent of the total business, I think it's still relatively small, and it varies by type of business. But the interesting thing to me that I found, I asked one company, a retail store, if they're losing customers due to online shopping, and they said the retail customers not so much, because you want the convenience, but they're losing a lot of their wholesale business because a vendor that's going to build let's say renovate 100 rooms, instead of buying it locally through the wholesaler, now with the internet and the online connections, it's they can figure out what they want and then order a large quantity directly. And so I think that's going to put a dent in the need for the intermediary of the wholesale in some cases.
In your opinion, as an economist, are we doing the things that we need to do to get the economy back up and running? Is there anything, when you look at the lay of the land, that you feel would be more helpful or is hurtful to accomplishing that goal?
Well, I think the absolute number one priority is for the visitors is the public health situation, number one, to get people vaccinated as much as possible. and that allows the local economy to function better and residents to go out and spend, but also to have the systems in place so that tourists can feel comfortable. Part of that is having a high vaccination rate here, so the COVID situation's under control, but also to have the mechanism to allow tourists to come if they've been vaccinated, and some testing and quarantine protocol. So it's much easier that they don't have to quarantine on both sides. So with international tourism, it's harder because like in Hawaii, all they have to do is have the quarantine for Hawaii for people to come from the United States, have that. But we have to have it on both sides. The quarantine and admission issues on Guam, as well as the return, so that people can return to their home country without quarantine. So it's a bigger challenge, but with the improvement in vaccinations, I saw something in the news that gave me probably the biggest news. Two things since I did my economic outlook. One is that with the vaccine that we didn't know in January is that if people have the vaccine, they're not likely to transmit the virus. So that was a major breakthrough on the information. The second thing, the great news I heard this week is that South Korea is doing a massive vaccination, and they expect to have their population like 70% vaccinated by September, 70 or 80. So that South Korea has been our largest tourist market. That's very encouraging. And we don't even need to have 100% vaccinated, because those that are vaccinated could travel to Guam. So I'm very encouraged that that might pick up pretty significantly and pretty soon.
We've kind of been held hostage by what we've been able to do with, not just with the vaccination, but with reopening the island, right? So what we're having happen now is people who are vaccinated are leaving, taking these trips, going to the States, whatnot. In your opinion, was there anything we could have done different to kind of maybe accelerate travel plans into Guam, tourism, that kind of thing?
Well, Hawaii was a little bit ahead. They started opening their tourism with testing. That's been determined not to be as effective as vaccination, but that might have been able to do a little bit to get a head start. But I think the vaccinations are the largest and most critical issue.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Jason Solis, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Gary. It's always good to talk to you, as always. I just have one quick question, because I have the good fortune of doing the real estate segment on our program with Liz Duenas and Gina Campos from Remax Diamond Realty, and they have noted since the beginning of the pandemic how very generously the federal government lowered the interest rate to try and stimulate that sector of the market. With economic cycles being, what they are and everything, and with the cost of goods sold, we did a report on the price of gas has gone up slightly, and I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, it too plummeted. How dramatically do you foresee retail items or service industries, with possibly increasing their prices, or interest rates maybe going up as we begin to return to more and more of a normal way of life?
I think the short-term outlook is that interest rates are going to be held pretty steady for the short term. The spike in the gas prices, it was partly a resumption to prior prices, but it's gone up a little bit. There was a recent story a month or so ago that due to the new construction in the States that the lumber prices have gone up a lot, but following that is that the supply and demand situation has changed, so they're falling. I know we're trying to order some new, Jason, you should appreciate this, some new computers, and
always.
The supply chain is that there's a shortage of chips, and some auto manufacturing in the United States has been shut down plants because they couldn't get the chips. So to the extent that there's supply chain disruptions due to the pandemic and the also due to the United States trade and political issues with China, that's impacted some of the trade and supply chain. So there will be some supply chain shortages, and that will cause a spike in prices in some things, and some of those will be short-lived, like in the lumber that they spiked and then now they're going back down. I don't see a general increase in inflation. Inflation has been very low in the United States, and Guam follows that pattern of maybe a couple of % a year for several years, and I expect that to continue along with low interest rates. I think the biggest challenge in real estate is right now there's a supply shortage, and with the low interest rates and expectations regarding the military buildup, there's more demand than there is supply. But I'm concerned that when the PUA money runs out, and if tourism doesn't recover fast enough, it's a race against one thing against another, that there could be a downward trend in part of the market where people have to bail out, and there's distressed sales and foreclosures and bankruptcies as there were after 9/11. So that possibility hasn't been ruled out yet.
And perhaps, Gary, could you speculate just for a real quick second on, because I like how you said before the fact that, you know, we were all staying home, we were forced to stay in, we probably weren't spending, probably being the operative word, you know, maybe as much as we normally would because we weren't going out. What have you seen as far as like the last year and a half in human history about like wealth management or people putting money away smartly, you know, maybe putting it in some interest-bearing account, or, you know, maybe even investing, and, you know, how might that shape up in the next year or so?
I don't have exact numbers, but in talking to some people in the banking industry, that the savings deposits have gone up considerably.
Oh, good.
And the trend in the credit card balances has gone down. So people are paying off their credit cards and saving more. So that's taking some of the fiscal stimulus out of the economy in the short term. So we're not recovering as fast as you might expect from the amount of money that's being pumped in. But it is providing some additional financial stability and security. So if people lose their job, they have some savings.
Interesting. Yeah, because I know, you know, when the stimulus was announced and then when the disbursements started coming out, you know, there were obviously everybody was saying, you know, take this money and let's put it back into the economy. Let's do what we have to. And there were maybe a scant few people. I know Dr. Tom Shea mentioned it, and, you know, your colleague Dave Della Sola were saying, you know, ladies and gentlemen, you might also want to, you know, put it away, save some for a rainy day, you know, have it as an emergency fund. You know, I mean, it's great that we have this sudden infusion of cash so you can maybe cover bills and do like stuff and everything like that, but we don't know what's going to happen, you know, from Tuesday to Wednesday. So if you can, you know, try and stash some of it away.
Absolutely. Yeah. Having a cushion for business and individuals is great. It gives you a lot of security.
Yeah, certainly that was not the majority voice and everything, but good to see that some of our people are actually doing that.
So in the aggregate, that's what's happening.
Oh, good.
There's more than.
Right on, Gary. Anything in closing you want to add? I feel like we covered a lot of bases here.
Yeah, the U.S. Department of Labor just issued a new.
Man, dude, that's actually why we brought you on. Sorry.
And then there's that thing.
To the U.S., generally, Guam wages are in the latest year are 31% below the national average overall. But if you look at the history on Guam wages have been rising, but the gap seems to have remained. Part of that is due to the differences in occupations that we have on Guam, partly due to demographics and the fact that we're a small economy. We don't have as many higher paying jobs in the healthcare industry. And we have more, due to our tourism industry, we have more jobs in the services sector. So part of that difference is due to the structure of the economy. But if you compare occupation to occupation, accountant to accountant, there's still a significant gap that the U.S. wages are higher. But for a lot of employers use this information to look at how their compensation compares to others in the industry. So we have on our website at bls.guam.gov information on the pay for various occupations, over 200 occupations, and not only the average pay and the median pay, half above and half below, but we have a wage distribution. So you can see the range of wages from the bottom 10% to the bottom quarter, the top 10%. So you can see if the people you're hiring are more skilled and more experienced than average, you can get an idea of what the upper range is that might be more appropriate, or if they're very entry level in that occupation in a small company, maybe on the lower range would be appropriate. So that we have hundreds of pages of wage information. And one issue too is we've broken out the wages, and we'll have that published on our website shortly. For the recent years is a breakout of the wage levels by occupation, by sector. So what the federal government is paying the private sector and the government of Guam. So that provides a lot of detail.
Yeah, Gary, I remember because the conversation kind of changed, and there are efforts, I think, with policy and maybe just generally speaking to kind of close that wage gap, right? And that's all tied in with people relocating from here, because you get someone who does job X on Guam versus job X in the States, and the pay is just, there's no comparison. So is closing the wage gap relative to what you make over there and what you make here, is it a losing battle given some of the constraints that we have to deal with relative to like our political status, or what we can do here on island to pay people more?
To some extent, as the economy improves, the market should allow increases in wages. Hopefully, will reduce the gap somewhat. Also, it's an issue related to training, because if we train people in an occupation, spend a lot of money training people in an occupation where the wage levels are too low, then it becomes a revolving door. They go through the training and then they find a different job. Right. So the two need some coordination.
Jason, anything before we let him go?
No, that was fantastic. I've always appreciated like Gary's insight and the breadth of his knowledge and stuff. And Gary, you were referencing computers just a moment ago. I think it's absolutely poetically fitting that you've got that big printer behind you, because when I first met you 23 years ago, I was your account rep at Computerland selling you printer toner. So now you coming back and giving us your expertise on that.
Oh, geez, the size of that printer, you must go through a lot of toner.
It's interesting. We like the high quality and high speed, but as more things go online and people download the reports, we're not printing as much.
Right, yeah. I love touching it, so.
But we've got big monitors, so.
All right. The better to see you with.
Virtual.
Gary, thanks for joining us.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Appreciate it. There you go, Gary Hiles, Chief Economist. Good stuff. Good talk.
Yeah. It's interesting because at the beginning, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, we were talking about, who we could tap in the community, what experts and, what subject matter people knew the most about. And I remember Gary was one of the first people I said, because I was like, why don't we get, the opinions, of economists, and, it was hard to get economists at the beginning because they were like, we can't really get a beat on this thing yet. And then now we've had people like Gary, Dr. Roseanne Jones at UOG have come out there. There are studies being commissioned to try and really, document what has happened, and now hopefully like forecast, what could be coming down the road. So
yeah,
it's good stuff.
I mean, it's going to be, and we're talking about this with the economy now, but I mean, the same thing's going to be happening with like the public health response to COVID. I mean, as we wind down the vaccination effort and they're able to study it more, we're going to find out more about the vaccinations, right? So it's kind of like as we inch toward this whatever the normalcy is going to be, we're able to kind of hindsight and figure things out.
You know, it's also weird how you say every once in a while, and you're like, on Guam, are we just too unnecessarily restrictive with the PPE and stuff like that? I mean, it's kept us in the position where we are, and I think that's great. It's also interesting to see, like, over the last year, if you look at the chronology of it, where our people were, literally lining up at 2 a.m. for a single box of food that opened at like 8. And yet you go like to CNBC or something like that, and you read like Amazon stock prices up like 400%.
Right, yeah.
And companies in the state, they're still, tech companies are launching every day. They're coming up with, new ideas. People are, and it's, it's interesting, like some of the dichotomies between, different communities and
I
markets.
feel like Guam was hit harder. I don't know because again, I didn't see what was happening in the States, but having gone out to these lines where people were just desperately waiting for food to grab and go from GDOE, man, it was heartbreaking.
Well,
really
they've also said
heartbreaking.
that Guam's
and almost like a lot of people were just hopeless, you know what I mean? Looking in their eyes and seeing them because we didn't know. There was the part of you catch this virus, you could die, and then there was a part of like, I don't got a job, how do I feed my family? And they were both just kind of converging into this terrible.
They've also mentioned that
I hate looking back at
it. The pandemic overall kind of shone light on the fact that like a lot of areas of Guam is very, very brittle and can very easily become overwhelmed, like the hospital,
like tourism, for
like
example.
the fact that we've only got tourism.
Right, yeah. There you go. 9:57. Let's do Cover Me, which is brought to you by our friends at Burger King and Docomo Pacific. This is the link. Good morning.
Buenos San Day. My name is Peter Cruz. I also go by Hully. And this song's called Isla. Check it out. ISLA, Guam is where I'm from. Tonu Itamoro, Kingdom of GUAM, island in the sun. From Jigo to Molesto, this land is all that we know. I said this land is all that we know. Come with me to my roots in a little tin shack on the ranch with my tata and the sweater on my picking lemon from the tree. How much hotter can it be? He said, don't worry, boy, just listen to me. So I cool down, relax, no worry, we're living in paradise. There's no place on this earth I will tell you that'll make you feel so nice. ISLA, Guam is where I'm from. Tonu Itamoro, Kingdom of GUAM, island in the sun. From Jigo to Molesto, this land is all that we know. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Malik on the mic.
Hey, shout out to the boy Holly Music, you know. Check this. We'll take you back to our roots in a little small island. Skanking together underneath the sun. Love and respect is the key, friends and family. We're not gonna fuss about spread positivity. So I cool down, relax, don't worry. We're living in paradise. Wherever I may be, stand walking right by me, said words are always on my mind.
ISLA, Guam is where I'm from. Tonu Itamoro, Kingdom of GUAM, island in the sun. From Jigo to Molesto, this land is all that we know. I said this land is all that we know.
Let's break it down, my brother.
Let's go.
No matter where you go, it's no matter how far.
Just look real deep inside, you'll find these isla. Pero kata ang getod niya, humatak to the seas. Sinaan niya talang pago down in Ipans. But even when I'm far away, my love for you will never fade. ISLA, Guam is where I'm from. Tonu Itamoro, Kingdom of GUAM, island in the sun. From Jigo to Molesto, this land is all that we know. I said this land is all